Good afternoon from Riga. Riga Technical University Open 2024 Round 7 is today. The tournament is already in full swing, just about to approach the finish line. Slowly, but the most exciting is just still ahead, and today with you will be once again Women International Master Anna Cantane.
Yes, welcome everyone, and good afternoon. And of course, I am joined by Grandmaster Tom Scantons. You can see the playing hall, the players are there. And today we are focusing once again on the Open A, the strongest tournament here during the festival. But you see the playing hall, and there are actually more tournaments. There is a B tournament, started C tournament, and today we have also a new event starting. So yeah, it's always really fun here. We have kind of new energy joining almost every day. There is a new tournament starting for those who cannot commit to play so long. So now they can only play Friday afternoon, Saturday and Sunday. I already saw my student, and I know Tom's also met some of his students. So yeah, we have a lot of interesting things happening here in Riga Technical University Open. And the most important, of course, is going to be the rounds of the grandmasters, of the leaders. Let's remember that the players also are fighting for the norms. So today we will still probably not have anything clear about the norms, but tomorrow and on Sunday especially, we'll also ask arbiters to tell us if somebody has made norms for the titles. So maybe we can see the standings after round 6 to see what is the current situation among the leaders.
So at the moment we have two leaders with 5.5 points out of 6 games, and that is top seed of the event Theodoro Nicolas from Greece and by Jack and Jacob Leon from Germany. So they are also meeting today with each other over the board. So very big chance that we'll have sole leader after the round 7. But they are closely followed by a group of players with 5 points, and among those is also the second seed of the tournament, Pierron Kacper, Grandmaster Welton Paul, Grandmaster Laurentius Thomas, the International Master Chen Kibi, International Masters Ratha Navel, and Lamard.
Yes, so this group can catch up as well, because in case of a draw on board 1, which of course we are hoping for a very big fight, but the draw is very likely outcome. All the players who would win today with 5 points will also join and will be on 6 out of 7. So yeah, very tense situation. You see a lot of players afterwards are also in this group with 4.5 points, and that the group is not finishing here. We could scroll even lower. We also have some female players in this group. Katerina Dolzhikova is the highest in the standings now, but Agra Valvantika, who is the highest rated female player here in the tournament, she's also on 4.5, and Ellen Roberts as well. We were following her game yesterday quite closely. So yeah, very exciting, because still a lot can happen. This is a really big tournament, a really big open, and the fact that there are 150 titled players just makes it so much more intense. So maybe let's see the pairings, and let's see who is playing who. Of course, board 1, it's our main clash of the day. Then the following 3 boards, players with 5 points are facing each other, so I think we will be following those super closely. We already have one draw on board 5, so well, that one we will not be following. But other than that, Toms, do you see anything that particularly catches your eye?
Yeah, well, there are some interesting matchups. Board 6 should be a fun one. Pultanevicius Paulius against Baum Jonas. Baum Jonas has been on our radar in a couple of the previous rounds. We have seen his games. They are exciting. They are fun. And facing Pultanevicius Paulius, there is a potential for some fireworks as well. And an interesting matchup is the top Latvian Grandmaster in the event, Meshkos Nikita, playing against Vantika Agraval. So I'm pretty sure that Anna will be also wanting to take a look at that game at some point.
Yes, absolutely. We were driving to the playing hall together, and I was checking the pairings one more time to see, yeah, which matchup is the most interesting. And this one, yes, it caught my eye. So good guess, Toms. Indeed, indeed. I think also we have on board 10 Dozhikova against Pa Ilian, and Pa Ilian, I think he is now a little bit lower. Although 10th board is still extremely high in this tournament, it's a very strong open, but he had every single game very exciting. So he's playing with the black pieces, he's playing against a little bit lower rated opponent, so he probably will create some fireworks on the board, and I'm curious how it's going to turn out as well. I think this could be a very interesting matchup as well. And I think board number 13, we could follow our top female players as well. So yeah, let's now jump and see the actual games. So board number 1, this is for sure something that we need to follow super closely today, because the question is, are we going to have a sole leader after 7th round? And especially that we have top seed. Actually, top seeds sometimes, they have difficulties in the open tournaments. It's a big pressure on them. Very, very rarely do they manage to win actually the whole thing. So I think it will be really interesting to see if Nicolas Teodorou is going to manage to outplay his opponent. He has black pieces, so it's for sure not easy. We see the players here. Jacob Payekan with white pieces, Nicolas Teodorou with the black pieces. The time is quite similar. They both already spent a little bit of their time, but a little bit more for the white player. And a situation on the board, quickly counting, we have equal material. But what more can we say about this situation, Toms?
Yeah, situation on board. I think it's gonna require quite a lot of thought and a lot of commentaries. But before we go that, what do you think about the body language? Did you notice the Teodoro sitting by the board with a head over the face? What do you make out of it when your opponent is when he seems not happy by the board?
Yeah, I actually noticed that. Sometimes we were trying to guess body language of the players here during the tournament, and I'm not sure if we were always guessing right, so I wasn't certain if we should point it out. But yeah, Nicolas, he seemed a little bit, I don't know, either tired or unhappy, or just kind of, in a waiting mode, because his opponent was the one thinking, so maybe he was just waiting what move is about to come on the board. What do you think? Did you think that he simply is not liking his current situation?
Yeah, I don't think so that it was exactly not liking the position, but maybe he is tired. I mean, that could be some explanation. Although all sorts of things happen, it's a long event. You can have a worse night of sleep, so can never rule out these kind of things, and they can affect your game very much so.
Yeah, but indeed, he's holding his head.
Now especially on his own move as well, so.
Yeah, but Nicolas was here in the studio, and he mentioned Riga is one of his favorite cities. And who knows, maybe yesterday he used the evening to actually explore the city. Hopefully the players are doing that, they come to Latvia, and hopefully they are enjoying their time between the rounds as well. Maybe he used the opportunity that today there was no round in the morning. We are local time. The players started the game only at 3 p.m. So yeah, maybe he did that. We'll see.
Yeah, and so also just speaking about the game and the position. So 2 rounds ago, Jacob was playing with white pieces against slightly higher rated opponent, and he chose very, very calm approach in the opening. So just to play it very, very safe with zero risk. And what we see today, that Teodoro, being aware that this is a possibility that Jacob might use also today, he chose a very unusual setup, just double fianchetto bishops, and just trying to get out of very specifics of the opening theory, not fighting for the center immediately, but looking to maybe outplay his opponent later on some better understanding of the position. And so yeah, and here we actually managed to kind of transpose to known openings, to known lines with yeah. What was the name of this one? If you could help me out here, Anna, with the lines of yeah, in the d4 opening when we go c5, d5, and then we sacrifice the pawn with b5.
It's like Benko Gambit. It's
Thank
yay.
you. Yeah, so like a Benko Gambit lines, we got transposition here, but yeah, and interestingly, yeah, just we don't. But the lines where you don't actually end up a pawn down, but there is still an a pawn for black. Those lines are generally considered to be more easy to play for white because they are less tactical, because there is one open file less for black, so now they have only the open b file, they don't have an open a file. And yeah, now we see a move, not developing a new piece, but knight backwards just to open up the bishop from g7, and they control over the e5 square so that there would be no e5 breaks and no direct simplifications at all in the position. So white continues with the piece development, and now we see again the same approach done, which is very, very interesting. Again, playing with a piece that is already developed, but not taking care of the knight on b8. But it seems to be working for him. What do you think, Anna? Like, he did manage to finish development basically in the same time as white here, so there is no... he's not behind in development. Okay, we have those two rook moves and a queen move that in theory we could count as extra moves that white has managed to do, but it's not so clear if they are so very, very useful here. And... yeah, so the next thing that could be happening here is some sort of an action on the b file. So black has very much prepared for some blows on c4 and maybe creating a weaker pawn on c4 later on in the game. So let's say we would sometimes take knight takes c4, b takes c4, and could jump further with some knight b6 ideas. Of course, in this particular moment, maybe that could be met by bishop a5, pinning our knight, and then the other knight could come to comfortably defend the pawn on c4. So we might need to prepare for it a little bit more with some moves like rook d8 and building more and more tension here.
Yeah, as you know, and now you will also find it out, dear viewers. Yeah, I play often not Greenfeld, but Benoni. So the structure is gonna be quite similar. So I was looking at this position, I was trying to figure out, the differences, because it's slightly... it could be almost the same, but of course there are some differences. And I was wondering, like, would I be happy in this position with black? And I cannot exactly figure this out. So I was happy that Thomas was covering everything, because yeah, I cannot exactly figure it out. It is quite known that those types of positions, objectively they are good for white for quite a long time, unless white is going to just make some inaccuracies or mistakes, and then black can counterattack. But in general they usually work for white, like objectively. We also see the evaluation bar favoring white just a bit. It's not a big some decisive advantage, but a little bit for white. So I guess it's quite usual. But I'm not sure if we get this typical game here as black. Normally, yeah, the difference, I guess, compared to what I usually do is that there is e-pawn is already on e6, so the e-file is open for black, and you have some easier time to create a counter game on the e4 pawn. Here, that's not the case. So will black try to do anything on the king side? Like sometimes f5 ideas are there, but here we don't have really pieces on the king side. So... what is the plan for black? How do you think, Toms?
Yeah, I really don't know, because the move that I mentioned, rook b8, could seriously run into trouble after move knight a5, with knight coming to c6 to a mega outpost, forking our queen and the rook, and also e7 pawn is very, very weak, and we would just be having very hard time dealing with it. So actually knight a5 is a serious thing to be now considering. It's a serious possibility for white to play after they play the move rook e1 in the last move, just to remove the knight from the bishop's diagonal. And yeah, and if you're not careful, then the knight a5 is gonna come, and then knight could land on c6. It might also not go there immediately, but one more benefit for knight coming to a5 is because it locks down the queen side, and we could afford to play some moves like bishop c3, exchanging the super powerful bishop from g7, and if we do that, then usually in these kind of structures, white is feeling very, very comfortable, because black has no active threats, no active kind of ideas whatsoever. So
But now it is black to move, so can black simply take this knight on c4? And now question is with the knight or with the bishop?
yeah, that is a very good question. So naturally, it would feel like taking with a knight as the first idea, but that opens up queen a4 later after we take on c4. And
So let's say we take a knight b6. So the plus of the fact that we got rid of this knight from b6 is that other knight can jump to b6. b6 usually is probably not a dream square, but in this position maybe it is reasonable because we control the a4 square, which could be the square where the queen is gonna go when also we attack the c4 pawn. But I guess white can go for your idea of bishop a5.
yeah, that is one possibility here that I think is very, very comfortable for white here. And the next move, just landing knight d2, defending on c4. Also, we have some breaks of e5 in the air. But maybe it's not forced to go knight to b6. Maybe there is some different plan that we could choose. As queen a4 is not end of the world, it attacks the bishop and the knight, but we can play queen c8, defending both of those pieces in the same time. So it doesn't exactly achieve so much, and black could try to look for a useful move and play in the long term for the pressure on the c4 pawn. I just for now cannot imagine what is this simple useful move. But
yeah, I was also thinking somewhere this f5 is a little bit tempting for me, but it just feels super wrong. Yes, because knight can come, the e6 square is weakened. Maybe we can go after all for e6. So for the usual idea and switch more to the positions. I just want to go for the position I am familiar with, I guess, but I maybe a bit too strongly. So e6.
yeah, and here we end up with a very, very unfortunate structure. White is controlling the open file, and we have two weaknesses, two very, very serious weaknesses in this position: d6 pawn and e6 pawn. So some attacking on them could be starting. Even knight g5, it is not the strongest move here, but I think it is effective enough in combination with bishop h3 idea and trying to force out e5 move, and then we have a very, very bad bishop on g7 and very weak pawn on d6.
Yeah, so how do you proceed? This is really good for me because Nicolas Teodorou is 2600 player, so I can see in very close structure to what I play. How is he going to solve this issue? Maybe rook b8 is a simple useful move, just rook bringing the rook to the open file. Usually it makes sense.
But we might not manage. We might not now manage to comfortably set up with the queen c8. As we would need to take right now on b1, but that is already somewhat uncomfortable to give up the b file for good, since there is no way how we can get our rook to b8 right now, and our bishop from a6 does not move anymore due to a7 pawn being under attack. Well, that we don't want to take for sure, but so we would need now some preparation move, maybe bishop a5, just not to let knight b6. It looks slow. Oh, but we also have bishop h3. That is very unpleasant. Okay, so queen a4 is actually a serious threat, because when the queen lands on c8, bishop h3 is very, very unpleasant to deal with, and that almost forces us to play something like f5, which further weakens the position.
Yeah, as we have already seen. Wow. Okay, so there are some issues, and we are not checking this. What if Nicolas decides to take with the bishop after all? Is it a move? It seems to be not the best move. But
takes with the bishop, and we still have the same issue what to do in the next move. So we take with the bishop, which is all nice, but then we need the next move, and that is kind of a problem because both of knights do want to stand on b6. We don't want to go knight e5 to exchange the bad knight from f3, and And I think the main struggle here is to have any active plan whatsoever from the black side.
Yeah, something like a5, a4, but that just seems to be a bit too slow. Unless queen c... Yeah, if we could bring queen c8, queen a6, something like this, maybe after bishop is gone from a6. Just a little bit also to hope for the fact that eventually white bishop on g2 is gonna be a little bit limited, but unfortunately it always has the h3 square to come there on this diagonal and be annoying. I think it's a little bit unpleasant now situation from the practical point of view for black, and actually if the time is correct, he's already down to 39 minutes.
Yeah, I think that the time is also a very, very good confirmation that this is an unpleasant position right now, since he has spent close to 15 minutes on this move, which is almost 1/3 of his time, and
wow.
that is significant amount.
Yes, that is true. So maybe this is why he was holding his head, and that means that there are some issues really to solve for the top seed of the event here. And yeah, let's remember this is the direct clash of the leaders now. They are both on 5.5 out of 6. And Jakub Hayeken was showing incredible chess, and yesterday he also outplayed Joseph Girel in a very nice endgame. He was just pushing with the black pieces against a high-rated opponent. So let's see what's going to happen here. I guess we will come back to this game later and see what decision Nicolas made. Unless you want to analyze it a bit more, or should we see other boards?
Yeah, I think now we can just conclude that it is somewhat good opening for white, and black have to figure out how to solve the problems that are on the board right now, and we'll see how Teodoro manages to do that.
Yeah, so on board 3, we already have a draw as well. And so, yeah, the players are trying to play it also, safe. The prize fund in a tournament is 20,000 euros. So, of course, they are not thinking only about winning the event. They're also thinking about generally getting into prizes. And so we had a draw between Paul Velten and Thomas Laurushas on board 3. But we should check board number 2. And the second seed of the tournament is back there on his board, on which he started the event as well, playing International Master Ki Chan. So let's take a look at board number 2. Grandmaster Kacper Piorun is of course the second seed. Yesterday he had an incredible double round day. He won both of his games, which it's also worth to mention that previous day he lost. I had a very painful loss, but that is how you know the real champs, that they bounce back, and he won two very important games, and this is why he is back in the top as well. This is Ki Chan here. We see him in the camera. Also trying to figure out some issues, as usually during a chess game. Although it is white to move, yeah. So here we have Grandmaster Kacper Piorun. Another very interesting position, actually.
And it's always safe to assume that international masters with a rating close to 2500 are on the hunt for the Grandmaster norms. And Ki Chan is right now in a rather tough situation in this regard, because Kacper Piorun is the first Grandmaster he is facing in this tournament. So to make a Grandmaster norm in an event, you need to play with minimum 3 Grandmasters. So this is a high stakes game for him. So to remain hopeful for the norm, he cannot afford to lose today. This is totally out of the question, and maybe even a draw is not enough, because he might be facing a non-Grandmaster player in the next round.
That's true. For example, Jakub Hayeken, who is an IM. So yeah, we have only 3 more rounds today, then Saturday, Sunday, and yeah, indeed, Ki Chan would need to play all of them against Grandmasters, and then of course he needs to have a performance rating of 2600. Now his performance is 2559. Or maybe slightly higher. So he is doing well. So he is very close to 2600 performance, but he needs the title players. That's always so tricky. But okay, this he cannot influence. He just needs to play his best. And how is it looking? At first glance, I think I like this position for white, simply because there is a bishop pair, and black doesn't have a dark square bishop, so that could not be so horrible, but somehow it feels like it could be missing in some cases, because maybe white has some possibilities of a kingside attack. For now we see white pushing on the queen side, so game is on two wings, so maybe bishop could be useful for black. How do you think, Toms?
I think our bishop on b3 is very, very sad. So that I think it's gonna come down to that question, whether bishop from b3 does join the game, does become a useful piece, or no. Because if it doesn't, then I do prefer knights here, due to the fact that we could be fighting for some outpost squares like f4. The knight is already staring down on one of those, and maybe he has an idea to play this knight slowly to regroup it to d4. No, knight e7. I'm just trying to figure out the move knight h7 here. Just a few moves ago, he played just knight h7 without any provocations, just decided to go for it. And I'm wondering, what is the plan on that one? Where was he rerouting it to? The typical plans are trying to get the knight somewhere to f4 whenever this is not under attack due to some tactics. Or, yeah, if you do fight for the d4 square, then that is not the most typical route how to try to get there. And so he played knight h7, and then next move, he stopped doing anything about the knight and just went queen c7. So that is why I'm kind of curious on where is it going, what is going to be the strategy. But now he plays the move knight e7, that also did come to my mind as one of the options. So now that we have a very, very strong outpost on d4, and I think he's just en route to get to the d4. So knight c6, knight d4 could be incoming, and that could even more amplify the power of the knights in this position.
All right, so it's not so great for the bishop pair. Then at least Thomas is saying. So double-edged position. This is what we want here. This is what we like. We also know that Kacper Piorun is extremely ambitious, so he wants to win. Ki-chan wants to win probably to keep his fight for the GM norm alive. So yeah, that's exciting. Kacper is always. I
sometimes feel like he does know the exact moment when we're looking at his game.
He feels it that now we are watching, and he just wants to deliver interesting expressions to us. So now after 97, Kacper is thinking, okay, the time on the clock is very, very similar. What can we consider? I would be thinking about bishop d1.
Just getting it out of there. Yeah, that is a very, very natural way. Try to get it also sometimes just to g4, right? To exchange it.
Yeah, maybe exchange it. You said it's the biggest issue of the position, so maybe we just exchange it. I would like the knight on c3, to be honest. It's a bit difficult to get it there, but one can dream in a game of chess. Probably it's tricky to do it, but maybe even knight e1, c2, a3, and going to b5. It seems extremely long, but if we get there, it could be quite a nice square for the knight as well. Yeah.
That is a pretty square indeed, but we would need to answer knight c6 very, very directly, because now b4 pawn is under attack, and that's a hard decision. Do we take or do we go b5? b5 is kind of ugly. Ugly feeling, since we lose any sort of control of the queen side, and
but b5, knight a5 will put the knight out of the game forever, right? Knight or a5 is not going to come back. So, and if knight goes away, let's say bishop takes d4, and then I'm thinking, okay, if you take, I want to. Or maybe bishop doesn't even have to take, actually. But then, anyways, I want to go a5. If you take, perhaps I have b6. So this is what I wanted to see if it's possible. That black wouldn't manage to block the queen side.
It is possible, certainly.
Probably it's not that great, but now rook a5.
Yeah, and then the next part is to consider, do we have anything actually going on for us here? The A file is all nice and pretty, but on the other hand, there is a knight on d4 and we have a bishop on d1, which is not all that great. So now black should probably just aim to bring the knight in the game from h7, either through f8 or back through f6. I'm not sure which of the routes is the better one here. But yeah, let's try something at knight f6. So in case you do take, I'm always taking cd, and then I have a perfect outpost for the other knight on c5. And even if you don't take, then I can be starting to look on the pawn on b6.
Yeah, but to be honest, it's still playable because white has a file and you can go for some activity on it, like rook a1, rook a7, and I think it's something that you kind of consider when you play.
Just take it first, yeah. Yeah, I think it's certainly something that he would consider here, some idea like this, but we could end up in rather passive defense of the b pawn. But this is, yeah, I'm sure that he's calculating some of these lines, and another way how we could react here maybe is to go for a5 immediately, not to wait for knight c6. Not to wait to play b5, just to go for it straight away and ask some maybe unpleasant questions.
Yeah, and then we can activate bishop through a4. That's a good point. a5. Is Kacper thinking about it?
So we cannot take right now on b4, since that will drop the pawn on b6 with a tempo, and then we'll take another pawn on b4, so that would simply lose a pawn. And if we do take right now on a5, can we sacrifice a pawn and take on c5? So we just sacrifice a pawn, take on c5, and go for a lot of activity. So if knight would come to c6 now, we lose the c5 pawn. And on rook d8...
some rook b5, attacking on c5.
It could also backfire with an idea, so bishop d7 or knight coming quickly to d4 or even b4.
Mm-hmm. Wow, but this could be a critical moment. Because white has already advanced quite a bit on the queen side, but now you have to understand, like, how do you use those advanced pawns not to get yourself in the situation that black will manage to block everything, and then maybe really those knights will jump on some squares. Kacper is reaching for some pawn. I think he was reaching for the a pawn, so I guess the most likely move is a5 now.
This is looking extremely pretty for white, but at the same time, how do we strengthen this position? Like, this position looks so nice, but I don't see the next move.
Maybe
something clever should be done, because bishop c4 is a threat.
But he is reaching for the pawn. He's gonna play a5. Maybe queen c3 first, and after f6, maneuvering this knight somewhere.
Yeah, but I don't think we need f6. f6 seems like...
What did he do? a5 is on the board. a5 is on the board. And we could see this pawn sacrifice. But after a5, ba, can't we just take back on a5 as well?
Just to take back on a5. But this pawn becomes weak. So slightly weak. And we do go for something like bishop c6. It could be faced simply with rook takes a5. And this is not working out for us in any way. It's just lots and lots of exchanges, and we are pawn down at the end of it. Black could even go as far as to take with the b pawn here if they don't want to deal with the pressure along the b file, but they could as well just go on and take with the queen. So
what is Kacper planning to do after b takes a5? Is he going to go for the pawn sacrifice, which looks really kind of tempting from the human perspective? It seems that the open files are really giving us enough activity. There's queen v2, which we missed before, which is a double attack, so maybe it's not even a pawn sacrifice if we can take it back immediately.
Well, we also give up on d3, so it starts quite a big reaction. There will be a chain of taking kind of moves, but it looks just correct. Everything is working. Both rooks are on open files. Knight is attacking weakness. Bishop is attacking weakness. Another bishop is controlling a lot of squares. So it just feels like it has to be working out, but and there is a knight on h7. So if there is any moment when you go for something like this, you do it when opponent has played such a move like knight h7. This is when you want to blow up things, because that guy from the h7 needs at least 2 moves to become a useful piece.
That's true. Okay, so it's heating up here on board number 2. E5 just played that invites already more direct answer also from the opponent, putting some pressure. This is what you want to do as a high rated player with white pieces, so let's see how is this going to develop. As we mentioned, board 3 has already finished, so I guess we could take a look at board 4. It is also quite exciting, so yeah, I think we could see what's going on there. I am taking a look at the live board, and I am not entirely certain. Very exciting position because we have opposite castles, so that's always fun. So we have International Master Ratanvel against International Master Lamart. This is board 4, yes, we have them here. In the back, we also have another game that we should see soon of the best local player, Nikita Meshkovs, who is playing with the highest rated female player, Vantika Agraval. But for now, let's focus on board number 4. Knight a4 has just been played, and that puts a tremendous pressure on this b2 pawn, because the bishop from g7, even though it's for now covered by the knight, it is also ready to take care of this king of white, and that is a very difficult move to answer for white, I think.
Yeah, I think that black is doing great here, and this position somewhat should also be feeling familiar for you, right? Due to the pawn structure and bishop being on g7 and going for some active game against against white's queen side. Just usually, I guess we don't see the long castle in any of the Benoni lines. Of course, this was Sicilian, so but that's actually the interesting thing about knowing and being able to play a lot of openings, because ideas, they do transpose and the setups and where you put pieces, and then you can more easily maneuver between some different pawn structures. And yeah, so here knight a4, this is very strongly attacking on b2 right now. E4 has been a very nice move played just to open up the bishop so that it would have these dangerous squares to attack on. And white is somewhat slow with any attacking ideas. So let's try to see what happens if we go for the most direct g4 here. So g4, if we do take on f3, probably we can take on f6, bishop takes f6, and we can take on h5, and that is just wild. Just very wild stuff happening on the board. So now black should take on b2 probably.
But then white takes on g6, I guess. Queen h6 is incoming somehow. But maybe it's not so easy. I am looking at the clock. Okay, white has a little bit less time. Oh, that's super interesting.
So let's say we take everything, and now it's black to move. Maybe f5 now as a move. Just to open up the queen, just to make sure that we can defend everything.
But maybe first bishop c1 can be... no, but then check. Double check, maybe it's
Bishop
too strong.
c1. Bishop c1, it doesn't allow the queen to join the game. So the double check is maybe not that useful, because we can just take it with the king. And anyways, we do need to take on c1, and that gives more clarity for our opponent on how to solve the problems here. So let's say we take with the queen on c1.
And then your move f5, but then black has already secured material advantage.
I guess it kind of works out, yet it still feels very exciting. So the idea is that after g7 we can play rook f6, not allowing queen h6, because queen h6 would be kind of devastating threat. So what about some other pushes? I would really like to get my knight over on f6, but I can't, because there is a queen b6 check and it just gets eaten.
Yeah, and if not that, then queen can come to g7 if white doesn't push the pawn there and defend the king, but also threaten to take care of white's king. It does feel like black is a bit faster, like black is a bit faster.
Yeah, so I guess g4 then is not that great of a move. We can't go for some crazy fireworks just yet. So what should we do? Should we just go something in bishop h6 and exchange this very dangerous bishop from g7?
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense because yeah, if this bishop joins the attack and the knight on a4 is already attacking on b2 and bishop is ready to also help. So before that happens, removing it makes a lot of sense. And now I was wondering if black has some tricks like e3, but then queen takes, I guess. But then if we go something, yeah, like rook e8 or knight d5 to open stuff up, but I guess it doesn't really work.
Oh, that is aggressive. Yeah, but it's just so many lines to keep in mind, and something could work out here. I mean, now we have also bishop h8. If we do manage to do this, yeah, that is not bad. We managed to keep the bishop on the board, and we can still go for these attacking ideas here. And how do we evaluate simply position if black takes here on f3? Is that?
I guess we just open the file for white after black takes.
But there is no longer a g4 move though.
Yeah, but white has some idea of bishop d3 and simply taking on g6 with the bishop and opening the g file anyways. This, yeah, very interesting position because both sides they do have some attacks and always of opposite castles. It's so exciting, but I guess for the players it's also quite stressful.
Yeah, like it's very, very
What
very
do you
concrete.
do?
You have to so rely on the calculation or on very strongly on your intuition that here you have enough pieces to attack, enough pieces to defend, and that it should be good at the end of the day. But knight b2 is just coming. It just feels like it's coming. So how do we stop it? A knight d4 doesn't seem to be too good of a move because queen b6 is just gonna come, and there is not only the knight under attack potentially, there's rook on g1 also hanging, so that is uncomfortable. So how to solve it here? How to keep attacking queen f4? Again, we will just meet with knight h7. It attacks the bishop and attacks on b2 in the same time.
Yeah, this is what black wants to do. Remove the knight from f6 and that way bishop from g7 is ready to eat the pawn on b2. What do you do? Maybe knight d4. Maybe knight d4 still is an option just to cover this diagonal, but it feels like...
Yeah, like that was what I was like just a moment I was saying, yeah, that here after queen b6
yeah,
we run into a lot of trouble all over.
Alright, yeah, so this is not easy. This is not easy at all. And Lamart is it's international master, but already over 2500. So if he gets his norm here, that brings him much closer to the GM title. Let me see how many grandmasters has he played, and what's his performance rating. Oh no, he hasn't played a single grandmaster here. What?
Yeah, this is something I was thinking about also on the first day to mention, that it happened already in one of the editions that we had here in Riga playing a very high rated international master, and what happened is that due to his high rating he was most of the time getting paired with people with lower rating, so he didn't get enough grandmasters despite playing on the stage on the top board the entire event.
Oh wow, that is painful.
So for banking norms, it is way, way better if your rating is somewhat lower, because then the pairing is not so kind to you.
Yeah, because how the pairings are made, they're always made according to the rating, not according to the standing. So if you have a high rating, usually, you'll get a little bit lower rated opponents, and those lower rated opponents, they are facing higher rated opponents. So the chance that those will have higher titles is also bigger. Oh wow, but that is so unlucky. He has a really good performance rating as well. And of course here we have people from a lot of different countries participating in the A tournament. It's 38 different federations, so this is also one of the requirements for the norm, that you have to play with people from different countries. But here he has it. And performance is really close to the one required for the GM norm, but he hasn't played a single Grandmaster. And that means that he only has 2 more rounds tomorrow and the day after, so he cannot theoretically get 3 games against GMs here. Okay, but so from it is painful if you cannot get a norm. On the other hand, at least one thing is off, so pressure is not on him for that, so he can just focus on winning the game and trying to score as best as possible in terms of the final standings.
Yeah, and the player with white pieces here is visibly also not happy, because he's spending a big chunk of his time on this very move. Now after knight a4, I think he feels that some danger is coming there, and it's maybe not as easy as he thought, and now he's thinking what to do about it. So one move that came to my mind is, okay, now we are attacking on b2, so perhaps we just play rook c2. So if that's the threat, we just defend from it, and then we see what our opponent is doing. And I think that if he has no clear idea for some attacking ideas, that might be also the best move practically here. Just prophylactic defense and waiting for your opponent to show you what is his point, what is his idea.
And also rook, sometimes if we ever open g-file, it could help with the attack from c2. Yeah, that's a good move. And as often the case, sometimes the most simple solution is the best. So you see you have an issue with the b pawn, maybe just you can defend it. I didn't think about it.
Yeah, and but of course that opens the game to some b5 possibilities, then some exchanges on c2, then b2 being hanging then later on, or simple rook e8 could be also just played right now, and again basically to throw the ball to the opponent and just to tell him, okay, now you show me what you got. I'm making an improving move, and it's not easy here for white because all the pieces are discoordinated. The bishop on f1 is very bad.
It's like a staring contest, like who is gonna break first.
Yeah, but the moves that black are making, they are very, very useful. So I think it's in black's interest here to be entering this kind of staring contest.
Yeah, and it's 21 minutes more on the clock. And now 2 hours into the game, 27 minutes only for player with white pieces. So it can also, especially if the game is just before this direct punches stage, then he might need this time later on when the most sharp part of the game is going to be played. Okay, so Lamart is looking good here with the black pieces. For now, I think, I wanted to say that players of black pieces have good positions, but maybe not necessarily. That's the case in every position we checked. Maybe we should go forward and take a look at some other game. Maybe we can see which one?
Before we move to the Meshkos and Vantika game, maybe we can take a look at board 7, as there seems to be some sort of fireworks happening on the board as well. You have a lot of Polish fans around as following you, so they might be interested to see another Polish player who we still haven't covered here, his game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is also a good moment to say hello to all of the viewers once again. Really nice that you're here with us on the Twitch, on the official website, everywhere where you're following. Super nice that you are paying attention to this really nice tournament, Riga Technical University Open. It's already 13th edition here in Riga. And yes, let's see, board number 7, we have international master Piotr Nguyen playing. He is indeed from Poland, and he is facing Lithuanian Grandmaster Valery Kazakowski. And yeah, the position after knight e5 is very sharp. Yeah, I saw this position. It seems that black is going for some attacks, maybe on the king side, but white has a very active knight on d6, the queen and the bishop. And when we look even just at the position, white has 4 pieces in the game. Black has, I don't know, how do we count them? Kind of 3 for now, although yeah, bishop from c8 is ready to join the attack. Pawn on e4 is also very active, but I don't know, maybe white can take this pawn now. Probably not, because those pieces are hanging, but maybe even it's some option.
So yeah, we have to have a solution on this double attack, and I guess we have a very simple solution. We just keep taking, but that gives all of a sudden to 2 bishops for black, and maybe some practical chances on just playing the game out calmly.
But it's an option, because rook e1, I guess, it can come. Maybe even rook a e1 could just defend the knight. So I think white could be considering just to take this pawn on e4. Otherwise, it feels that the pawn on e4 gives a lot of space for black. And those tricks with like knight f3 jumps and bishop h3. So maybe just removing this pawn, unless you see even easier solution for white to fight with this attack.
How do we actually play against the same knight f3 here?
And after king h1...
I guess we can just go king h1 indeed. So the idea was that if we do take, then we have the same idea on double attack on the pieces, and there is no bishop takes e5 any longer. So that would be very, very nice, simple solution. But yeah, I guess king h1. But at least it's now our move. The knight is not under attack anymore on e5, and perhaps...
It's still possible, maybe to go for this double attack, queen f5.
Yeah, that's a wild position. That is automatically just becoming wild, and I don't even know which move to consider here. Maybe something like this, and bishop d5, just trying to take back with the comfort, and f8 is hanging.
Bishop d5, that's tricky. What is the time situation? Okay, Kazakowski has quite a bit of time. Okay, so if the clock was reversed, I think he could be in quite trouble with 20 minutes on this position, but I think with 50 minutes he should figure something out.
Yeah, but this is also like just looking at the opening. So we had okay, so Sicilian, I guess, accelerated dragons online, and now queen just goes immediately to h5, just immediately going for an attack, and knight coming out to h6, defending and attacking at the same time, just quickly castle and just forward with the everything. So we put the queen on h5, so the whole focus is just to be aggressive, and now again just e5, just trying to I guess the idea was to try to force the knight back somewhere and to use it as a target for some further developing attacks. And yeah, so e4 again, just opening up that bishop, and the whole idea is just to play aggressively forward. And this is something that we very often, from the games that I have seen by Piotr Nguyen, that he's playing, he's preparing some aggressive opening lines. So and it is always fun to follow and always fun to watch.
Yeah, that's true. He also has some courses that he is preparing, so I think he spends quite a lot of time analyzing opening variations, and that could be that it's a bit scary to play him. But now, actually, the move we were considering, capturing the pawn, just happened on the board. So Valery went for picking up pawn on e4. And now question is, what has Piotr prepared against it? Because he must have prepared something for just capturing the pawn. Knight f3, what you mentioned, maybe. And what about bishop h3? That probably can't work, yeah? That's too
we
early.
have some options also to take on c4, perhaps. I did not even notice that this bishop is attacked. And now to use the queen for development with some tempos, like bishop e6. And we still have to all the time worry that if those two guys don't stay under attack, so after this capture we have to find some clever square for the queen, maybe queen b4, just that it will still be defending the knight on e4. But this I like, all of a sudden just everything is coming coming here aggressively and
Okay, that makes sense, but you still have to show enough for the pawn.
okay, queen c5 might be kind of unpleasant. Just
I guess he took, right? He did such...
yeah, he took knight c4. Yeah, but here also we have queen e2 ideas attacking both on e4 and on b2. So it is kind of interesting. It is an interesting sacrifice, I think, and black at least solves the problem that they had a few moves ago, that they were behind in development, and right now just the game is energetic. We are using opponent's queen as a weapon to get out with all of our pieces. So yeah, that is... I think it's a very, very good practical approach to go for something like this.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. The bishop pair is there. Some direct attacks are there. I wonder if it's enough for the win, though. I wonder if he has chances for a GM norm, but probably not. Probably not, because we haven't seen him on the top board, so most likely he doesn't. But I will quickly see what's his performance rating. He's on 4.5 points. No. 2400 performance.
Yeah, but the moment when you're playing with black pieces against an opponent, almost 2600, 160 points higher rating than you, first thing that you're thinking about is to stay in the game. And only then you're looking for some winning ideas if they do start up here.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, this is a very interesting one for sure. Let's see how it's going to develop. And now let's move forward to board number... Maybe we can see the next one. So board number 8, we have Vitaly Sivuk against Viom Vidrati. And just quite exciting because I just spotted king is on d2 for white. I don't know, bishop pair for white, knight pair for black. Let's see what is happening here. Is it at all clear? I am not even sure who is better. Probably Tom's. We'll figure it out very quickly. Yeah, here we have the players. Vitaly.
The king on d2, it does seem like a problem.
It should be a problem.
Exactly, yeah. So I guess black should be in full control of the game here. Also, the position seems to be very much favoring knights in general, because there are so many squares and routes where to jump around to. And I mean, if our bishop has to stay on c2, then certainly this is not the favorable position for the bishop. And another bishop we have on g3. So this is like from the some classical children books on how we should play with the piece up. So we should just get the bishop on g3 with the double def pawns, making sure that there is zero possibilities ever to get the bishop out of there, just with huge sacrifices. And then we have to just play on the queen side, and this is exactly what he's doing. He has locked down this bishop, and now he was blowing up the queen side. He was offering the piece exchanges on the queen side to amplify his advantage. And I think that this is just could be, if the game develops in its logical way, I think this could be the kind of example to show for, again, further on this topic to the kids in the lessons.
That's always such a bad thing. If your game can be an example for the lessons for kids, but you're on the losing side, that's pretty painful. But white could be looking for some activity. When I first saw the position, I thought, okay, maybe white has queen g1, queen h2, but the problem is that black is simply moving to the side, and if queens get exchanged, then again black is not sad, because bishop on g3 is going to stay there. So we can even just move pieces around, like queen g1, black doing something, just waiting for this rook a2 or queen h2, and then if white even manages to give this check on h7, nothing is really happening. Black is just going to go king f8, and yeah, checks are not really there, unless white goes for the queen exchange. But if they do, then Black is not sad about it. They just exchange the queen. Bishop is on g3. Bishop on c2 is horrible as well. So yeah, white doesn't have this counter game. And if white doesn't have a counter game, then what do you do?
I really don't know. You are trying to find some creative idea. Something just that could all of a sudden put you in the game, but it's so hard to imagine what, because it is the black's attack on the a file and against the king is coming so very quickly that yeah, something has gone wrong. Something has gone terribly wrong in the opening or after the opening phase in this game for Vitaly Sivuk. And yeah, and I think that for now it's simply his opponent is also capitalizing on this mistake fully.
So wait, what was the beginning of this trouble? Can we...
in this game?
Yeah. How did it become so bad? I mean, Vitaly Sivuk, he is high rated player. He's playing with the white pieces. Oh, this is what I teach my students, okay. Yeah, so actually if you manage to get this g5, we can even go a couple of moves back. Here we had it from the Ray Lopez, from the Spanish, but it can also happen in the Italian game. So here if white goes, as he did, bishop g5, and we can push this bishop, as Thomas was mentioning, we push this bishop with g5 and to g3, then later on it can become a big problem.
Of course, this is so far a known position, and this is nothing wrong for white in it, but it just has to be played with caution.
Yeah, it could stay out of the game, and especially if black manages to do what they managed to do, so later on took on f3 and doubled up those pawns, so white will never manage to play f3 with a pawn.
So now he just went for taking on a3, just going for those knights.
Oh, so this is actually very interesting.
And try to take control of the a file, and white chose to allow this doubling on the and locking out of the bishop by playing queen a1, just thinking that the a file is gonna be more important. So black didn't hesitate and took it.
And just castled. Look, he just castles, even though there is g5 pawn, and it could seem that white has an open file, like the g file. White can also go h4, but he went for it because he says there is no attack because you have no pieces that can do anything to my king, and your bishop on g3 is gonna be there. Wow, this is really cool.
And perhaps there was some attacking ideas, because as we can see, evaluation bar is not saying that it's all over. All is hopeless, but for that to work, I guess white had to play very energetically. Maybe h4 immediately somewhere, just before there's any piece consolidation. Yeah, not doing those moves backwards so many, because now we just played. Because really, what just happened was there was rook on a3. We played queen a1 to take control of the a file, and then we allowed the doubling of the f pawns, and then we did queen a1, queen d1 back. So something didn't work out on this part, and black is just doing the most logical moves, and here improving the pieces again, and more, and all of a sudden everything starts to be working great here.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So maybe we still had some moments to break the center, actually, that our bishop would not be locked out. Something like taking on c6 and then playing d4, or playing d4 immediately.
Just to somehow make this bishop on g3 attack something. So if we take on e5 and black takes, then there is a target, so bishop is doing something.
Okay, this is maybe not exactly working out immediately. Since yeah, some targets in this position could be there, but oh, we have knight d3 here. Nice move, knight d3, just using the fact that we cannot capture because rook on h1 would be hanging. So this is tricky, but something along those lines I feel like white should have played, just to keep this idea of d4 alive, because if you do get it, sometimes at least your bishop is not out of the game. This is not the classical structure with the king on g7 and pawn on f6 where you cannot break through the wall. Yeah, but here we have queen being the one guarding the e5 pawn, so there are chances to get out. And this king d2 was voluntarily played, and I guess was simply not working out in this game.
But queen g1... Wait, queen g1 was played or queen b1?
Queen b1
queen
was
b1.
played.
So he's stopping rook coming to a2, trying to put some pressure on the b5 pawn. He recognized that h file and some potential checks there are not really an attack, just need to focus on defense. So yeah, quite a tough position, but apparently still with chances. So queen f3, such a move doesn't work immediately because maybe white can take on b5 and counterattack. No, this rook on a6 is not hanging. The knight is defending it.
Yeah, but I guess it just gives some breathing room. We could play rook h6, perhaps attacking on d6. We had the bishop d1 idea. Bishop could get in the game through the other side, and all of a sudden we have targets that we are attacking, and that automatically means that we are just in the game.
Okay, so it's still there are some chances. Strategically looks really bad because of this bishop, but question is if Vitaly is going to manage to create some dynamics that the pieces are going to manage to open up and get a counter game as well. So I think we should take a look at board number 13. Aline Roberts just played a really cool move, capturing a pawn, and it's a kind of a sacrifice or half sacrifice. So let's take a look. Aline Roberts against Krishna Rohit. Krishna lost yesterday, right? He was among the leaders and then he suffered a painful loss. And this is the trick of the open tournaments with a lot of people, that if you lose, so many other players are going to jump in front of you. So now he's playing on board 13, which is still okay. But I think he could be in trouble again now after this knight h6 move by Aline. Let's take a look at the board.
Yeah, this is interesting, and also yesterday Aline was playing this very nice, played a very nice exchange sacrifice.
Yes, she was playing with Antal Gergely, another grandmaster. Okay, now she's playing with international master, I guess, but still strong players, higher rated than hers. And she sacrificed yesterday positionally. Now she's sacrificing not exactly positionally. I think she just wants to crash through. Yes, there she is. That's Aline, and knight h6 has just been played, crashing through the king side of the opponent.
Yeah, so the last move was just knight takes on h6. There was a pawn before that, and yeah, the pawns are defending the king, so we are simply removing them. And yeah, now she's standing by her board, looking at it from above.
Do you like, does it affect you when you see your opponent just play the strong move and they are standing up and staring at you from the, position of power?
I don't feel intimidated by that. But, I mean, if the person is staring at me, my opponent, maybe that is... I don't know. I think people usually stare at the board, so don't have much experience in that regard. But yeah, like when you play a move, some sacrificing move you're excited about, yeah, you're just checking it from like two different angles, because yeah, you're just sometimes you're also just proud of it, because that you have found it and you have thought of it, and you just want to like make sure that it's working and you're just checking it, but you have this like uplifting feeling.
But also curious, how much has she been calculating knight takes h6, and maybe then she just wants to stand up, because when you see it so much by the board, calculating a move, then it's just pretty good for you to get up and change the perspective as well.
This thing seems to be actually just very, very easily working out together, right? Or
isn't there f5? I thought that f5 is the idea.
Yeah, f5 apparently is not the strongest move, but
and knight h6 is on the board. He needed to capture with the knight, otherwise king on h6 is even worse, and that f5 move, for example, would have been with a check. So yeah, black needed to take with the knight, and now you have to understand how does white break through. We see that the evil bar says it's just winning, but how do we win? It's not so easy. Maybe taking on e5 is also an option. Somehow f5 feels more...
yeah, taking on e5 I like much more. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, we want to open up this diagonal, but if we take back on h6 the knight, we're winning. Mm-hmm. There is no dark square bishop for black, so all those squares should be just just collapsing. And if we make a simple move like recapturing here, oh, do we take first on e6 or do we just go queen h4?
I think we can just go queen h4. The problem is black has no pieces to defend the knight on h6.
Wait, that's a big blunder.
The knight f4 I think is coming. Maybe we just... Okay,
can we just take
so
it?
easy.
Take it and then go rook h6.
Oh, that's nice. Taking on g5 so that the queen is not hanging. But after knight takes g5, we are not taking knight on g5. The knight on g5 is not the knight we want to take. We want to take this guy on h6. So we just bring the rook in. And now we are 2 pieces down. 2 knights, exactly. But look at those knights. They are not gonna survive this.
Yeah, we just removed our pieces. With our pieces, we removed the opponent's pawns because the pawns were better defenders, and the knights are just, yeah, they don't work. They can't do much, and now the checkmate is just coming.
Oh wow, that is really beautiful. It's not like super obvious after knight h6, how to continue. It's still you have to find a couple of precise moves. Really curious if Aline is going to find them.
Yeah, and this taking is nice because we do open up the rook. This is a very, very big resource that we can get the rook in, because in some of the lines I think white, if you do play f5, they are happy to give up the piece. Just give up the piece but somehow escape, even if they end up somewhere pawn down or something, you know, the game at least continues. Yeah, after f takes e5, there's another piece that is playing in attack, that's a rook, and there is no defense, seemingly. So if he goes something like king g7 now, I guess that is a move to be considered. Queen h5, rook h8, we could be meeting by...
Just take on queen f6 check, I think, and bishop e6 will be very annoying for black as well, because queen cannot take, rook on d8 is hanging, and then we can take on g6 if pawn captures, or just take on h6 already, because... Oh no, pawn is on g6.
Yeah, taking on g6, on e6, it does look pretty good.
And we can take on h6, I guess. Rook f7 is gonna come. Wow, that is so crushing. How did it happen? g6 was played, yeah? So g6 weakened this h6 square.
But it was a tough position already. It was a tough position, but yeah, g6. It just feels like your h6 pawn is so well guarded. There are 2 defenders, only 1 attacker. Like this bishop from c1 is not yet there. The queen is also on another file. So it just doesn't feel, maybe from the distance, that you should worry about it.
Yeah, but I guess he wasn't feeling comfortable about this pressure on the g7 pawn. Knight is attacking, queen is attacking. The knight on e6 is defending it, but it's attacked. It wasn't a threat immediately because after bishop takes e6 to remove the defender, black is not capturing with the queen but with the pawn. And then this queen is still defending on g7, but it's just unpleasant when you see such pieces staring at you, and maybe he somehow just didn't exactly see knight takes h6, or he saw it but he thought, oh, it cannot work. Now he took, but Aline is still thinking. She hasn't replied immediately.
Yeah, that's interesting. Would expect that she was calculating only knight h6 as the main move, but perhaps she's trying to make sure. Maybe she also just had one idea in her mind, and now she just noticed another one, and then she's trying to compare them, because that is also often the case. You see one line that you're sure that, okay, I'm definitely here better, but and then you kind of think, okay, if it will happen on the board, then I'll think about also other options, and then yeah, it actually happens. So then you're thinking maybe the other move is even stronger.
Yeah, and she has what to think about. f5 is as tempting as taking on e5, I think, even maybe more. Somehow humanly we were also first drawn to f5, so the fact that we attack immediately another knight on e6 is, I think, very just natural to consider f5. But finding also the difference, exactly, what if I play f5? I guess f5 is a bit weaker because knight f4 could come, to stop
and
this
also
diagonal.
The g file could open maybe sometimes, and knight could come after f4 indeed. And some options appear. Very hard anyways for black because these pieces, bishop on b7, queen on d7, rook on d8, they're so cramped. They just are very, very slow to join the defense.
She played something. What is on the board? F5. Okay, so F5. It seems taking on E5 was a bit more precise. At least the engine liked it better. Open the bishop, open the rook, and actually we don't need to attack the knight on E6, but it is so logical. So she just goes for this move F5, attacking the knight on E6 and threatening queen H4, queen H3.
But it's still great position. It's still fantastic. Knight h6 was very nice idea, very beautiful, and yeah, just playing in very like such a beautiful fashion. Really, the games. Yesterday rook takes d3, today knight takes h6. So yeah, it's always nice to see, and especially that there's like the same player, for example, who is just following through in with this playing style over and over and over again.
We have knight f4 already answered. Was that the most precise defense for black? I think so. So now the idea is that black is able to stop this bishop, and probably this is also why taking on e5 was a little bit more precise, because then there is no pawn on e5. So black doesn't have this resource. And now, can we take on f4 with the rook, or do we take with the bishop?
I was looking to take with a bishop and thinking about bringing the rook over, but yeah, your idea with taking with the rook, of course, it has a lot of point.
And she played it. Look, she played it. Rook takes f4, and the thing is that now after taking on f4, queen takes, and we have queen and bishop battery in a funny way attacking the knight on h6.
I think, yeah, we actually take here with the bishop.
Ah, really? I thought with the queen.
To be
She
able
took
to
with
attack.
the queen, though.
Oh,
queen
no.
is already on the board.
That was the first move I also played out, and
But the bar drops.
I think there's g5 doesn't
No,
work.
g5 we take. Maybe knight g8.
This is not yet working. This is not yet working.
Maybe knight g8 simple. No.
Yeah, then we don't have other moves. Knight g8 seems to be the only one, right?
Yeah, and after queen h4, king g7.
No, we have another move. We have also knight f5 to consider.
Now white is a full rook down because Aline sacrificed knight on h6, and now she sacrificed still a rook for the knight, so a full rook down. But that gives black some resources of returning part of the material. So she rushed with queen f4. Bishop takes f4 was more precise.
And we don't manage to get in time out with the bishop to swing over the rook.
Oh my goodness. Wait, and so let's compare it. If bishop f4 was taken, then knight f5, the difference will be that
we have queen h3 perhaps? Or we simply can take and bring rook f1, bishop g5 and still checkmate on the h file.
Yeah, but it's not so clear. Maybe bishop g5. And now if queen h5?
Yeah, still bishop g5 I like, and with the idea this.
Yeah, but black? Oh no, black doesn't have an extra rook. Now it's only
an exchange, and we have two bishops. Same situation that was in her yesterday's game.
Wow, but now apparently...
Oh, but after queen h5 we still have bishop d1.
Oh, that's really nice.
And this
so queen cannot cover the h file.
And now we are ready. Oh, and here we have still another move. We still have bishop f3 as well. So the queen is just stuck in the center of the board with nothing to do. Oh wow, and there was no just defense. White would be rook down, but cannot get in the game with the pieces other than sacrificing something.
Oh wow. Okay, still it's not so easy for black. Queen f4, and there is a huge threat of checkmates coming, so it's still precision is required from black, but apparently knight f5 holds the game.
And what do we play here with white? Do we take, or do we play something like bishop d2 just?
Because knight cannot move. Since if it moves, then we have queen h6. So let's say knight goes somewhere to e7 or g7, queen h6, king g8, and maybe we just bring the rook or bishop over.
Because there is no f6 move, and that's a checkmate.
And there is no way to cover the f6 square. Queen cannot come there as well, only queen e6, I guess, but that drops the queen.
So that is actually funny, that knight cannot move in this position. Yeah, but bishop d2 is... When you are sitting by the board, and you're full rook down, and the opponent's piece is hanging, and you just play a positional developing move, it just... I mean, right now we're sitting here commentating, just looking at this game for fun, and then it is... Yeah, you know, you consider these kind of moves like kind of naturally, but by the board, it takes really big efforts to actually get to something like that.
That's something. Okay, let's let's see. Meanwhile, we don't have it on the board. Knight f5 was played and immediately captured by Aline. A little bit it feels she is rushing because the position actually had much more to offer. So I think it's always good to just consider still candidate moves, especially this queen f4 was maybe a bit too fast because she's playing really quickly, but maybe she just saw this and she thought something here must be working, like queen h6 check. So let's see, after queen h6, king g8, and now bishop g5. Why is not winning? Because black can counterattack on g2.
It's black.
Simply queen g4, I think.
That would lose to queen g6. Though.
Okay.
So not that easy, but do we have threats? Wait, we are kind of preparing bishop f6 slowly.
Yeah, that's true. It's slowly. Rook f1, maybe.
Yeah, so it's black to move. So we have a move. That's the very important part. And just need to deal with rook f1 and the threat of queen takes g6. So first of all, rook f1, we have still queen d3, and then bishop f6 comes. And if we do have some tactics in this very moment, yes, we do. So in case this was to happen, after bishop f6, I have queen e3. Check and queen exchange, and that just means that there is no time, because in the next move I'm coming rook e2 and starting my counterattack.
Nice defending ideas. This is also very nice, to see there is a dangerous attack, but you have a lot of material, and you can... Very important rule is that you can give some of it back, and you are going to sometimes have this comfort of choosing how can you give it back, and then just still reaching positionally better situation, which is so tricky, because there is this tactical game, and then suddenly a lot of material sacrificed, a lot of material given back, and then suddenly there is an end game which is for example equal, but material wise, but just better for one of the sides. King g8 was played, and Krishna Rohit just stood up, so I think it also could indicate that he feels now confident that the worst is behind him, and he's not getting checkmated.
Yeah, I mean, he should feel that his pieces are playing right now, and the attack, it just does not feel natural anymore, because he's not in a cramped position when all his pieces on the queen side are stuck there behind the pawns. The bishop on b7 is just so powerful, and there are many ideas now to consider, many practical moves. Yeah, just how to be in the game. And
bishop g5 is on the board, but he has options now. He has got options, so maybe it is time for us also, since we will not see checkmate. Maybe we should move to the next board, either next, or should we go back to the leaderboard? How do you think, Thomas?
Yeah, we could take a look at another board, and then we could also go for a break after that one.
Okay.
So, do you wish to see what is happening on board 1, where our leaders are playing? There has been a lot of development, or is there some other game that is particularly interesting for you?
Yeah, I think we can go back to the leaderboards. Other games we were mentioning at the beginning, the development there, I think, is not that exciting. So I think we can just see board number 1, Jakub Pajekan against Nicolas Theodorou. they just finished in a draw. Maybe we'll still see them. I think they just finished. I didn't have the result yet, and so let's take a look. Are the players still there? No, we just see the kings in the center. Draw agreed, fixed, and that means most likely we will have at least 3-4 leaders today.
At least?
Although,
No,
at least two.
At least two. At least two leaders we have, yes. But wow, but this is surprising that they repeated the position. So I guess both players just decided that there is no clear way how to progress. So felt like anything would be maybe too forced, too risky, and that draw is good enough result. And it's understandable for both sides. So first of all, player with white pieces is playing against top seed of an event, Grandmaster with a rating over 2600. So draw is never a bad result. And player, the top seed of the event, Nicholas, is playing with black pieces. So he's gonna be having white pieces tomorrow. So just playing it safe and staying in the shared first place is also not a very bad situation to be in.
Yes, absolutely. And I just checked that for Jacob Payekan, it's also very important for his GM norm chances to get more GMs, because he also is playing against first GM. Hopefully he's going to get this chance, because he has been playing incredible here in the tournament. Let's hope we're gonna see some GM norm.
And then we're now going for a break, and we'll be back covering the most exciting stuff in the rest of the boards after that.
Yes, absolutely. Stay tuned. See you in a moment. Welcome to the Riga Technical University Open live coverage of the round number 7. And yeah, it's really exciting. We had already some resultative games today, and those that are still on are entering very important phase. The time is going lower and lower on the clocks, so development is coming in very quickly.
Yeah, so the leaderboard has been it's over. It finished with a draw, so we know that we will for sure have 2 leaders. But right now there is a very very intense fight happening on board number 2 between Kacper Pioron and Ki Chen. So I would say that at this point, on how the game is progressing, Kacper is the one who is fighting to join the leaders, and Ki Chen is just trying to stay alive in the game, to stay in the, just make more moves and moves and moves until maybe some chances appear later on in the game. But yeah, it's a very very tough challenge, and in very nice fashion, Kacper sacrificed positionally a pawn, just the way how we expected that he might be trying to do that, and his positions seemed to be getting more and more pleasant until just his opponent decided, okay, I have to give the pawn back, which also, yeah, he did, and now the position is, as we see it on the board,
And the bar.
oh wow, the last move was a big blunder apparently. We
Wow.
just joined for knight takes d3, which is losing.
Wow, and why is it so bad? Wait, so that evened out the material. At the moment, we have 5 pawns each, 3 minor pieces, 2 rooks queen for everyone. Why is it so bad? Why is the evil bar saying that white is winning, overtaking this game? Is there some tactic? Is there something?
What about rook d1? Just attacking the knight. Where do we go?
So I guess knight b4 is the only safe square, and now rook opposite to the bishop. The problem is that the rook is actually defended. The bishop from a4 is defending the rook, so is there some smart bishop jump?
So we can go with the bishop wherever we like to, and the queen will be attacked. And yeah, the rook won't be, the bishop won't be able to be eaten, and the queen will have to just go somewhere away. And where is, can we get to the king somehow?
But bishop c5 and queen has no, but
We can go to
queen has a
g8.
square.
Very far, very safe. And now the c4 pawn also will be hanging here, so I don't think that is that easy, so easy. So because if we take on b4, then later rook c4 comes, and it's not game over. It's a great position, but it's not game over.
So what is the move? What is the move? Why is it so bad? Queen to g8 can be played. Why is it so bad? Maybe there is something else.
Somehow to attack the king, perhaps. I don't know. Can something like knight e5 here could be played? With an idea, if we do take, then bishop takes, and we have attack on g7 in the same time. But black does have queen g5, so it's not. Again, it's fantastic position, but it's not like over.
What about h4? Just to push the h pawn, and the engine says it's quite good.
Wow, h4, that is that's clever. And so the idea is that bishop.
I just want to go h5, and the knight has to go somewhere, but where? There is no place for the knight. So black has to do something, maybe h5, but h5 will be very weak, and also queen will never have this g5 square. And then we could continue some attack. I think black has to go h5, simply because otherwise we are coming in with our pawn to h5 and asking this knight, where is it going? Okay.
I go to f8.
Okay, looks active, looks great.
h4 on the board. Immediately h4 is on the board. No rook d1.
Wow. Kacper Pioron, he's from Poland. I am from Poland, so clearly we think alike, but this is not so good. What is the important difference?
We are not attacking the queen.
Okay, but black has to do something. h5 is still a threat, and now if black does something about it, we have rook d1 anyways.
So
What
here
a
this would be
position.
winning anyways. So not... oh wow, what is happening? This is quite a roller coaster. Can we just go queen f6 now, and now we have an f4 square for the knight?
So if now rook d1, then actually other knight can also come to f4, and that maybe is this key.
Yeah, we actually got a square for the knight, because after rook d1 immediately, there had to be played knight b4 to a square where it does nothing for the defense, and now we can go actually knight f4, which is a great square, which is really great square for the knight. So h4, queen f6. Do we play h5? Knight f4.
Queen f6 is on the board. Wow, so quickly as well, understanding that this is necessary to control the f4 square, so that both knights, so whichever knight is attacked now is gonna jump to f4, and that is very actually also getting dangerous for white. Knight from f4 can jump to e2. There is a fork possibility. Wow. And now pawn on c4 is hanging in some variations as well.
So this is what I meant, that he was just hanging in there, just waiting that maybe he will get his chance, and he got it. He got his chance, and this is shocking. It felt so natural to put rook on d1 against the queen because we are attacking, and oh, maybe he was actually in the rook d1, maybe he was not sure what to do on bishop takes c4.
So that captures the pawn and defends the knight. Were we considering it?
No, we were not, but what about bishop d7? Shouldn't it be at least very good? Always?
The rook from c8 has no squares, so we can just take it with the bishop. Wow, that gives also a good position. Maybe there is also something better after bishop c4. We are for now not seeing it. h4, I guess queen f6 anyways.
Yeah, queen f6 seems to be a very strong square.
Wow, and we see Kacper Piorun seems to be shocked that suddenly it's not working out as he thought. Oh wow, look at him. He seems shocked with queen f6, and suddenly it seemed that black pieces don't have enough squares. They're becoming loose after h4, but there is this one square. All you need is one good square.
And actually also sometimes it is a common thing among chess players that they are calculating some lines, and in some in their minds some of the moves is like automatic, and it's always there, and then you're calculating some more complicated follow-up moves, and when it comes to it you just do the second move or something. You forget that you haven't included yet this move that was an automatic one for you. I don't know, of course, if that's the case here, but yeah, it is quite common, and then it's very awkward.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. You calculate the variation and you think, okay, I play here, they play here, and you're kind of falling deeper into thought about, okay, so what will I do then in the second move? And then when you are about to make a move, you immediately make this move second of the variation, forgetting about making a first move. And I am not sure if it happened now, but we see that Kacper Piorun is shocked that now after queen f6 something which he hoped for is not there, or just he missed this move. Oh wow, maybe he...
And now it seems very nice for black. This is hanging, both knights are coming to f4, knight e2 indeed is just there. We have a passer on a file, which is blocked by a bishop on a4 for now, but it means that bishop has to stand there. And if we don't have any active game, any specific active game happening, then yeah, black could be very comfortable. Yeah.
Oh wow, what a turnaround. So this is one of the boards. We have board 2 and board 4, on which, in case of a resultative game, the player who wins is gonna join the leaders. Jakub Pajek and Nicolas Teodorou, who just made a draw. So they are now on 6 out of 7, and now everything is wide open. Maybe let's take a look at board number 4 just to quickly cover what is happening there. Will we see a resultative game there? Because there was also quite a lot of development.
Yeah, let's see board number 4, and maybe we'll come for time trouble back to this one.
Yeah, those are the key games now in this 7th round of the tournament. And yeah, we have quite a development here.
A lot of pieces have disappeared from the board.
Ratanvel against Lamard, both international masters, and we've seen a couple of moves back that Black seems to be doing really well. We liked attacking chances for Black, but now I am not sure if it's still the case. Black has only 3 minutes, White has only 3 minutes versus 18 for Black, but is the position still so great for the Black pieces? I'm not sure. It seems
Yeah, I think
to
that
be
something went very, very wrong around this moment here. It was a nice position. Everything was kind of working. And now he chose to go knight c5. A move which is admitting my attack is not working out anymore.
because knight on a4, it might feel that knight shouldn't be there, since we all know knight on the rim is dim, and but here actually it's doing something, and it's always about not where your piece is standing, but what is it actually doing. And here the knight is putting huge pressure on the b2 pawn. C3 square can sometimes be important as well during the attack.
And the knight on b3 is horrible. That is also, I think, worth to mention that knight on b3 is really just a very, very bad piece right now for white here. And knight c5 move is just going for an exchange, and exchanging this very bad knight. And okay, and in this moment, instead of keeping the game tense...
but I think, it also was very nicely played by a player with white pieces, because we didn't like his position, but I think he found some very nice practical setup that it wasn't so easy for black to attack.
Yeah, that seems... Yeah, that's correct, that's correct. And now, okay, after we take on f3, black is admitting that he's going to be defending a position pawn down.
Oh, wow. And again, will we see a resultative game here? If not, then despite a draw on board 1, those players will still be leading. So let's see if someone will manage to join them. Rook e3 attacking the bishop now.
Rook f1 seems to be very, very natural move here. Yeah, it's immediately played.
And yeah?
I think that Lamard is also realizing that his position is not great, and he's trying to find some chances by playing a little bit more quickly, pushing on time, since player with white pieces has only less than 4 minutes on the clock, and that's why taking on f3 was played quickly, then rook e3 was played quickly. But I don't think those are great moves. I think they are just simplifying, and it's, if you want to play on time, a very important part of that process is to play complicated lines and to have calculated at least few move sequences where on move 2 or 3 you are surprising your opponent with something. Because taking on f3, this is very easy to answer. Rook f1 is like the first thing that comes to your mind, and it's a good move, activating pieces. Now you again have to calculate something from the black side. So if the game continues with this trend, I think white has great winning chances here. So, as these pawns are somewhat weak, of course, if we exchange everything on the king side and there are no weaknesses, no active squares, then due to the different colored bishops, it should finish in a draw. But there is a big potential against the black's king right now.
Yeah, despite it being an endgame, there can still be some attacking chances, especially connected with some mating nets, because white has this light square bishop, and I can even see it coming somewhere to e6 after pawn from f7 will be exchanged, because it is likely that hg is gonna happen, and then pawn from f7 will disappear. So yeah, bishop coming to e6, rooks using those open files. There could be some crazy ideas. Black, of course, also has some chances of pushing against b2 pawn, so white has to be careful. But I think for white it will be easier to answer that with some rook g2 defending on b2. Wow, what a turnaround.
And you had to watch out, even some move like king g7 could be a very big blunder immediately due to some ideas simply pushing h6, removing defender of the bishop, and now bishop g4 coming attacking the rook and the bishop in the same time.
Oh wow, So rook b8, that is that is good for Lamar because rook on c8 was hanging sometimes, as we just seen in this variation. He's removing it from the light square, which makes sense when you play against your opponent has a light square bishop. If you put your pieces on the dark squares, you might not blunder them. It will be much harder at least. So now b2 pawn is hanging. I guess rook g2 should be played, or is there some other move?
I think b3.
Just b3.
I think we will... I would choose b3 here, simply for the reason that we will not manage to keep the pawn on b2, and we want to win. It's not that we just want to make just stand it and wait it out, but we want to win, and for that we need freedom for our rooks to capture some pawns, to go attacking, and if they need to defend on b2, we cannot do that. So b3 seems to be very, very safe, and bishop could have also an option if there is any danger for the king or against the b3 pawn. We could just go bishop d1, bishop c2.
And he plays it. He goes for it. He doesn't have so much time. Around 3 minutes on the clock for white. But for now it's enough. For now it's enough. Yeah, this position could get very exciting.
I think...
Is now king g7 also an issue for black, or can he do it?
I think that's why he played rook b8 to be able to play king g7, but I don't like it.
Can white take on g6 and play bishop h5? Because after h5 we have sometimes g5, but here after g5 we still have the pawn to take it.
Oh yeah, that's very nice. So king g7 would not be working at all, so he played bishop d4, again very quickly. Very, very quickly.
So now his threat is to take the bishop on f3, right? And so bishop from d4 is indirectly attacking the rook on g1. And that's a big threat, right?
So we're not able to take hg at this moment for that reason, because that would be... No, we can? Because
apparently,
we have
yes.
g takes f right now, and if king takes, this is what I check, and if king goes somewhere away, then
king f8?
King f8, then...
Rook g8 and king f7, that's attacking two rooks.
Then we can go here, and after take, we can go rook g3 and...
What? At the end,
and he took it.
You're a piece down, and you still need to see rook g3 at the end, that you are actually winning. He took on g6. Wow, but they're both playing so quickly. He takes on g6. Is this going to be such a big turnaround, and Ratanvel can join the leaders if he wins this one?
No, the trick didn't work. Oh no! Yeah, this is...
And this is just bad.
Wow, that is... Yeah, I thought that in this moment you have to do something...
But what?
Something more solid, like f5 for example. Because we at least have a passer, we still have this threat, and we're trying to survive. King g7, rook b8, and just holding the dark squares and keeping the position locked. Oh wow, he's pushing on time.
Takes, king is on h7, but are there some mating nets? Now the rook on g1 is not hanging, so rook f3 tactic is not there.
I think rook d6 is just winning. There is not need for anything more. This is just very clean winning position. Bishop is gonna regroup.
And rook f8 is not possible to try to use the pin because bishop e4 is simply coming with a check, and even though bishop is hanging, rook on f8 is hanging as well.
Yeah, this is I think it's a common mistake that is actually very often happening. I also tend to do it. It's just like human nature to play like this. When you have a worse position, an opponent is low on time, you want to kind of push him on time, and you start to play yourself quickly. But very often what happens is that your position is actually not that bad. Like, your position is not lost, it's just a little bit worse. And if you play good, then even slight inaccuracies from your opponent can even just automatically save your game. But you start playing fast yourself, so your time advantage just disappears, and you start doing some in a worse position. You have less moves that you can afford to do than it's in a good position. So
that's what I always tell my students. If you start playing fast, if your opponent is in time trouble, then it's like you were in time trouble yourself, right? So you gotta use your time. Yes, you want to use it smartly, but the best thing to do is just to play good moves, because your opponent doesn't have have so much time to find good answers to them. And rook d6 is on the board. That is really impressive. He is not going below 3 minutes. He is getting all the time 30 seconds per move, so then he is right back to 3 minutes. Wow. And white seems to be completely winning. According to the bar, it is completely winning for white.
It's 3 extra pawns. It's 3 extra pawns. With 3 extra pawns, different colored bishops can't save you even. And we have a safe king, and we have a dangerous king, and that of course is also
dangerous king.
King in danger, not dangerous king.
We'll see. Maybe he's gonna turn dangerous as well. But yeah, big trouble for Lamar. He is playing rook e8, so he's trying to consolidate his rooks so that they can do some damage together.
But this is the moment when he can't start playing fast, because now his position is actually lost. So in this moment, it's all about white playing the best moves, and black has no chance to save it, so it's just about hoping to trick your opponent.
Can white be just eating the pawns? Can we just take the pawn on a6? Take the fourth one.
That is a good insurance, then we can afford even to blunder a piece somewhere.
Rook a6 can be played. What else? Can we just try to attack the king for black? Play something like bishop g4. Just open our bishop, threaten some checks.
This is so keeping the position together, there are no threats. But yeah, we could also go bishop g4. I think that's equally good. Or simply go as crazy as just to play bishop d1 here with an idea bishop c2. And if you exchange the rooks...
He's putting bishop on g4, still holding it. Is he gonna let go or is he... What? Yes, he let go. So he played bishop g4. Yeah, I like this move because you open your rook from f1. You have some activity. Now your opponent has to also be careful because there could be just some checkmates, and this bishop can come to e6, which is gonna break this connection between the rooks and almost take away all the chances from black. So I like this move because oftentimes when you have a winning position, important thing is to still keep the activity. So be active, that your opponent wouldn't just take over the game, and if your opponent has no counter game, then he has nothing. Bishop g4 is played, and it seems to be just horrible for black. Meanwhile, in the game between Kacper Piorun and Kitchen, very slow development because Kacper Piorun has spent a lot of time after this move, queen f6. And so we just have king h2, knight indeed jump to f4. Now bishop takes f4, but I think, Kacper Piorun, the second seed of the tournament, he could also get himself in trouble. So higher rated opponents are not having it easy in this round.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the tension, and everybody being strong and fighting till the end. Nobody wants to lose. Everybody wants to find every chance to stay in the game. And if you want to win the game, you have to be precise for a long, long time. Also, I can update in the meantime that Eileen Roberts did lose the game against Krishna Rohit, and the game continued exactly in the kind of manner that we expected, with rook e8 and queen exchange, and it being just insufficient material for white.
Oh, that's such a shame. If you haven't seen, there was a very interesting attack for white. Eileen Roberts sacrificed the knight, and just very rich opportunities. So very interesting position just to take a look at it and kind of see the possible lines. And but if there is no straightforward win, we all make mistakes, and that happens. Unfortunately, that's chess. Winning position doesn't mean that we are gonna win the game. But yeah, it was still very interesting. Okay, now Lamar is thinking.
I think he realizes that there is...
something went too wrong.
Nothing to do, really. Maybe he'll play something like rook g3 now. Just provoking something from the white side, maybe trying to get rook e2 in. I don't know. Hard to imagine. Even rook e6, right, is great. But okay, that could give some chances for black, theoretically, since we could activate a rook on the second rank. But it's so much, 3 pawns. It's just 3 pawns. And this pawn is already running d6, d7, 1 square from the queen.
Yeah. Hard to imagine. I mean, there can always happen something, as we know, but objectively it should be just hopeless for black. Maybe we can take a quick look at the game we still haven't covered today. Board number 11. Let's see the strongest Latvian player. So from here, local Grandmaster Nikita Meshkovs is facing Vantika Agrawal. And the game before I thought Nikita is winning easily, but now we have some endgame. There is a pawn up, but I'm not sure if it's winning. Maybe Toms can tell us, give us an endgame lesson. So let's see board number 11.
Yeah, I think it's pretty drawish, and this is also. It is incredible effort by Vantika here, since, you see now, she's in time trouble. But this is what you see now. She was in time trouble already around move 20.
Yeah.
Nikita had around 1 hour on the clock, and Vantika was down to last minute.
Yeah, I saw that, and I saw the position seemed also quite unpleasant, so it seemed just white is pushing for a win. Straightforward, but now the rook is quite active on b4, so it's blocking the passer, and I guess king is now going to it to ask it some questions and try to push the b pawn, but black has just a lot of activity, and this is how you want to defend those rook endgames. You want to defend them actively.
Yeah, he's trying. He's looking for some tricks, for some maneuvers, for some to find some tricky geometrical ideas that could be missed in time trouble. But like right now was king on e3, now it went there, now then on e2, just trying to change some things up, and maybe some chances appear. But I think she's defending very, very well, and so it just on recapping on how the position was, like you can see time. This was already moved 20 at 4 minutes against 1 hour, and she was nicely going for activity, and then so another thing that was very nice and important here, the bishop stays active, and all the pawns went forward here. See, b4, a4 is just there, playing with those 2 pawns against those 3, exchanging the pawns. Even though she's pawn down, she's not just waiting it out, but she is going for some ideas and using the fact that white's king is on e1. We have to somehow deal with the pawn on f2. Rook has such a big activity, and very, very good defense. And after exchanging of the bishops, I think that the task becomes easier, because rook endgame, sure, they have some requirement of defensive technique to play them well, but there are way more drawish options when you have rook endgame rather than rooks and the bishops. But probably Nikita was spending a lot of time as well now trying to figure out how to win this endgame, and he just didn't see the way to progress, so he felt like he needs to remove this very strong bishop from c6. But the rook endgame automatically, I think, becomes just practically a draw. But of course he's gonna try here forever, ever and ever, just to find something. And actually about this endgame, again speaking, why it becomes so hard to win. It's the same motive, the same team that we already mentioned in some of the previous broadcasts. Even if black gives up the e and h pawn, but manages to take the b pawn and king comes over, it is still a draw because of the h and f pawns not being enough to win in a rook endgame.
Yeah, of course you have to feel pretty comfortable in that draw. It's not super straightforward. And especially in time trouble it could be hard, but here we have a draw on board 4. Not draw. White has to be winning, and also we have a result on board 2 where that's where the draw happened. So that means that indeed here the winner of this game with white pieces, Ratan Vel is joining the leaders as an only player, and we will have 3 players with 6 out of 7. Very impressive win by him. It seemed for us he was in trouble, but he took over the game, and he was in time trouble, but this didn't stop him from taking over. So incredible performance by him. He will play with one of the players who played today on board 1 tomorrow, because I guess he still didn't play with them, and
Yeah, probably with Teodoro Nicolas, since he is the higher rated player and he's might be the first one seeking an opponent.
Yeah, and Teodoro also had black pieces, so the colors match for them. Wow. And on the second board, maybe we can quickly take a look just to show everyone how the game finished between Kacper Piorun and Ki Chen. We basically had a immediately draw there, but just to update you, since this was one of the crucial games, Queen f6 clearly shocked Polish grandmaster. He played King h2. Here Knight f4, they exchanged, and after Bishop c2 came just Knight e2 with a draw offer.
Yeah, we can see that player with black pieces, I guess, was not very aggressively set for this game, since his position now is, according to the evaluation bar, according to the engine, is already significantly better. And since white's queen doesn't have any comfortable squares, and we have this a passer, we have a weakness on c4, our rooks are just there, and so actually black had a great chance to overtake this game. And the bishop was on c2 is as well not great at all. It's just staring at your own pawns. It has no active prospects in this game whatsoever.
Yeah.
So that's why Kacper just happily took the draw here, I think.
Maybe not very happily. I don't think he was super excited about it. I'm sure he wanted to win today, but when your position is not great, he also went very low on time. Then he just decided this is the best decision. He still has 2 rounds to go, just have a point behind the leaders, so he can still even win the tournament probably, and certainly fight for top, second, third, and all the places. So he just secures anyways a top position for himself. Which is the most crucial game here?
We see the time in the game between Nikita Meshkos and Agrawal Vantika.
Yeah.
Very low. All the time doing moves on the very, very last seconds.
And Vantika, she's such a fighter. We've seen her playing a couple of rounds back. I think 2 days ago, she was playing against Chinese grandmaster Chongsheng Zheng, and she was also defending in time trouble, and she was playing so well, finding very nice defensive resources. But then, I think after 5 or 6 hours of play, he managed to somehow break through her defense. And it's very difficult playing in time trouble. It's not only about this one move, but it just being in this extremely high tension for multiple hours. At this point for her, it's already multiple hours, because as Tom's mentioned before, she got into time trouble very early on in this game. So playing on the seconds for 2.5, 3 hours, it's just extremely difficult.
And also one of the, sometimes even not simply the time trouble on its own is the difficult part, but you cannot leave for this entire time. You don't even have the luxury to go to the bathroom if you need to or anything. You just gotta sit there and that's it. Because the moment you leave your board opponent makes a move, you just lose on time.
Exactly, and it can be really a problem. And you just cannot lose focus. You have 40 seconds on the clock, the clock is ticking, and it's going really quickly when you're playing the game. Somehow I think faster than normally, especially if you're in time trouble. So it's just very practically difficult. Even if the position is drawn, we see such games being lost. Sometimes even such strong players. Agrawal Vantika, she is an international master. She is almost 2400 player, but it's still some defense that she has got to show here.
Yeah, so white do have the extra B pawn and would like to push it, but are not managing because it's all the time being attacked. The moment the king comes near it, there is a check somewhere, and still in the same time we have to keep an eye on the f pawn, which gets attacked from time to time as well. Rook could even come sometimes also through the g file to g2, attacking both of those two pawns, and white cannot doesn't have a way to collect any of the black pawns, since rook from the b4 was very comfortably all the time guarding the h4 pawn, and king can comfortably guard the e5 pawn. So Nikita is trying to find some way how to push the opponent out of there, and I think we already had a very similar position. Some moves back. Now he played king c3 because there is no rook c8 check, so he's hoping for some tricks already to appear, and maybe even if objective evaluation of the position doesn't change, this kind of little thing can feel like a big progress in a practical game, because when you had a defensive resource in your mind and it's no longer there, it no longer works, then you can start to doubt everything that you have been doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we can take a look also at another rook endgame where we have slightly different situation, because to me at least it feels that side that has a pawn less is pushing. So maybe we can take a look at board number 22, Zanon versus Avinash. Also rook endgame. It is quite already advanced stage of the rounds here, especially in those A and B tournaments, because you see here in this view of the playing hall there's also D tournament, which started a bit later their games, and I think maybe even they have second game already going of today, so so they are still playing. There are a lot of full tables, but here we already have a very advanced stage of the game. So yeah, let's see board number 22 if we can. I think it's quite an interesting rook endgame. And it feels to me that white, despite having only 3 pawns, is pushing, but maybe it's not enough.
Yeah, that is a very complicated position to be uh, commenting on, especially in a competent kind of way. But the pawns are rolling, so that should be kind of important. And I guess the first question is there any way how to stop the pawns?
So yeah, maybe we can see the boards here as well, and I think there is no way to stop those pawns. Which just proves how complicated rook endgames are. You have an extra pawn, but suddenly it's all again about activity and about what those pieces and also pawns can do against you. So yeah, we see white has only 3 pawns, black has 4, but white's pawns are already, both of them, on the 6th rank. E6 was just played. That gives white place for the rook. Rook can give a check, for example, then A7 can already be played. And black's pawns, they are much behind. So I guess it's simply winning for white.
Yeah, black made a mistake here by going to collect too many pawns rather than pushing at least one of the pawns and having also giving something for white to worry about, some passer, some passed pawn, because pawns are only good when they actually can do something, when they can go somewhere. And now he's starting to push it, but it feels like it is too late, because rook f7 could just come, and let's say we play something like king e8, we can just go a7, and the king is very nearby these pawns, and our plan is simple: rook b7, rook b8 check, and the queen.
And that is very simple, yeah. Too simple. I was thinking about something even more complicated, like rook g7, and then we are threatening to give a check, and then maybe e7. But rook b7, rook b8 is way easier.
And also if the king goes to g8, there is the same threat, the same idea. But just to illustrate that that's not the only idea how to win here, we could also just go rook b7 now, immediately. And if rook takes on a6, again the king is on the very bad square, it cannot go to f7 anymore. We just give a check, push king on h7, play e7, the rook has to be given for the pawn because we are promoting in the next move. And with those pawns being so slow, this is also very easy win for white.
So how did it happen? Before you mentioned that black had a chance to take a bit less pawns and try to...
Yeah, so black went already risky for one of the pawns, and
so he could have just defended with rook f7 to defend the pawn on a7?
yeah, he had it already. He had it on the board. He didn't need to go for any of that. He could just activate the king. King is very, very important in the end games. So the rook could go to b7, I think, or c7, and we could bring out the king to e6. That would be an important thing to do in this position. But okay, he went for this, which I don't think is... Yeah, it's a normal practical decision to take the pawn, but I have a feeling that he had to somewhere just look for some activity, somewhere just to not... maybe rook h4? No, rook h4, apparently. It's very hard to do rook endgames with no calculation. E6 is coming. E6 is a threat. So e6 is a threat, and so we have to deal with it.
E6, rook f4. Let's see, why is it winning? Rook h4, e6, rook f4, rook a8, rook f8, I guess, and then queening with the a pawn. Will we manage?
Yeah, we have...
We will manage.
If we run for this, then this guy is gonna queen.
Yeah, but you have to calculate it all, and it's quite a long variation, so yeah. That's often a trick of rook endgames, that you have to always also evaluate what in case the rooks somehow get exchanged, they're off the board, so what will be the evaluation of the pawn endgame. And yeah, also the same case in the final position. White has just two advanced pawns, so rooks can never get exchanged, and White just has to find precise way to win. He is on 2 minutes, so you of course can get a little bit nervous, but he's a grandmaster, so I think it should be piece of cake for him.
Yeah, I think he's just double checking some lines, because it is like one of the main ideas probably for advancing 2 pawns.
Wait, but why is Black's time going? And Black supposedly played c4. Did he forget to press the clock? I guess no, but now White is time is going, and something there I guess is not exactly maybe updating in the very second. But White played something, probably rook f7, right? Or king e2.
I think there's rook f7. Hard to imagine any other move being played. Yeah, so I think we can assume that the white is winning this one very, very comfortably, and there is no tension left whatsoever.
But yeah, nice. I think nice way that even in the end game, even in the rook end game, it's not always about amount of pawns. It's always about what you can do with them and how far are they already advanced. So yeah, very nice end game. Meanwhile, here on the stage, all of the top games are already finished, so we can just update you. The results of the top 6 boards are in, and 5 of them finished in draws, so only one resultative game, which we have been following. Ratanvel won with Lamart in this end game. With different color bishops with white pieces. He managed to win, and yeah, board 7 is still going.
On the board 8 we have saw this very instructive way how Duyatri Vayam won against Vitaly Sivak.
Yeah, that was actually with black pieces again, a lower rated player, but he just crashed. And again, if you haven't seen, you can take a look at this game because it's very instructive how White got in trouble with his bishop on g3, and because of this one bishop, basically the whole position gotten really unplayable. Yeah, that was a really nice example. Not that many games are going, and those that are going are of course already very advanced in some end games. I guess one game that is still hasn't reached an end game is a game of Jakub Seman. Maybe we can take a look at that. So maybe we can see board number 16, Jakub Seman against Robert Ernst.
Are they also in the group with 4.5 points?
They have to be, I think, because this group was so wide. Let me make sure. Yeah, 4.5 points. So in case of victory, player with 4.5 points gets to 5.5 out of 7, and it's a very good position to attack. Still in the last 2 games, the top places. Good position for them. So yeah, board number 16. There we have, oh wow, Robert is also very young. So Jakub Seman is a current world champion under 16. And how old is Robert? Let's take a look. He is 15. Okay, born 2009, 15. And it seems like Jakub Seman is pushing because he has an extra exchange. The A-pawn is there as well, and quite active rooks and so on. But black has the center and central pawns. Is that enough to save, or to at least make it more complicated?
I think also the big thing for that works for black is this pawn on g5 and the somewhat weakened structure around the king. If we could move the pawn backwards to g3, I would be very happy here with white. But with the pawn on g5, we have to always worry about all sorts of knight f4 jumps and some tactics against our king. And as we see, like last few moves have been queen c6 and queen f3 by white.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
We don't see the clock, as I guess there might be some connection error with the clock, but I think we can assume that white is in rather big time trouble if those are the moves that are getting played.
That's true. I don't know if it's possible to zoom in our camera. Probably it might be difficult because it's already quite far. These boards are a little bit on the side, but yeah, wow, what an interesting position actually.
And black has been playing back and forth bishop c7, bishop d6 because
so maybe we'll see a draw.
He's probably quite happy with the draw, and I don't think that Jakub here wants to make a draw. He would like to have some winning chances. Maybe he's gonna go for a4 or something like this.
He did something. I think rook b6 was just played, so he is not repeating. Well done, well done. It's good to have a fighting spirit. But now it's possible to exchange and pick up the pawn on a3, isn't it?
Yeah, that seems to be very, very safe. We have 2 pawns for an exchange, g5 pawn weakness. Yeah.
And in the meantime, we have a zoom in on the clock, and a big shout out to our technical team who is working behind the scenes so that you guys could see everything as well as possible. And yes, indeed, the clock for white is going very quickly down, so around 15 seconds for Jakub Seman.
And I think that white is in trouble.
Oh, he's below 10 seconds.
I think white is in practical trouble. I think he didn't take into account that you can not exchange queens, because probably he was thinking, okay, we're going for an endgame, you take here on a3 with the bishop, but I get some chances, maybe with no risk whatsoever, and now he's desperate for queen exchange. That's why queen f3 follows once again. And I think black is just very, very happy with the position right now, and we'll see if how ambitious of a player is Robert here, if he'll be worried about the opponent's rating, or he's just gonna see his chance that now he has a material advantage and it's time to start pushing.
Of course, it is understandable to be worried about your opponent's rating, but I think Robert has to be fighting for an international master norm, because he has played with a lot of titled players, so he has enough titled players, he has enough IMs as well, because if you want to make a norm for a specific title, you need to play at least 3 games against this title or higher, so he has enough of IMs, and his performance is close to that as well. So hopefully he has this chance, and that may also make him more ambitious here.
And queen a2, he does keep looking for some ways how to make the game going.
More complicated, keeping the queens on the board, because it is white's king that is weaker. So if your opponent has a weak king, it makes sense to keep your strongest attacker on the board. Queen is usually the most dangerous attacker, so he just doesn't want to exchange it. Queen c4. Is white going to try to still keep exchanging, like queen c6, or something else was played? Rook c6.
Rook c6 is played, and oh wow, the pieces are not coordinated. The coordination is disappearing a little bit. Maybe queen a4 now, using the fact that now the queen is not able to go anywhere. And then what we are gonna see in the next move from the
Still, it's a
white.
weird position to play from both sides, I think, because for black pieces are standing in the center, but also for now, like for in this very moment, still not doing that much. But yeah, it's maybe a move away. I don't know if knight f4 is ever an option.
If we could get bishop a7, that would also be very nice. Or, of course, e4. If we get e4 on the board, that is with a big advantage for black. But for now, the queen is, of course, not gonna allow us to do that.
Okay, queen a4, but rook b7. Now Jakub Seman is attacking on f7. So black has to do something about this hanging pawn, because queen f7 is now a threat. Maybe he can consider knight f4. Or what else?
Yeah,
rook
knight
f8.
f4.
Oh no, rook f8, then rook d6 is taking the bishop. Okay, so you have to be careful.
So now both of them are attacking on f7, so perhaps knight f4 is good enough.
Maybe you can go f5.
Oh wow, f5.
It looks a bit crazy, but I guess it is more than a bit
I
crazy.
think a queen d5 is gonna be very, very unpleasant here.
I thought if white takes on f6, which still has to be great, but queen couldn't take on f6 because queen c6 is there. But okay, knight f4 is on the board. That was a reasonable option, although
no,
still not good.
It's a
Oh,
blunder.
wow. What did he need to do? You cannot go on c7, or can you? Then you're staying with the piece down. You cannot go rook f8 because bishop on d6 is hanging. So what can you do?
How about just king h7?
Again, using the fact that queen cannot take on f7, and if rook takes?
And if rook takes, then we just play on, saying that this pawn structure anyways is so bad for white that it doesn't matter really. And maybe now I have time to brain something like knight c5. No,
but look at that, look what's happening in the game. We have takes on f4 takes and rook d6. What is that? Why? He just takes on d6 and now queen f4 is, I guess, coming and... Or no...
And yes, and king h7, queen f4, queen.
And king is in the mating net. Oh wow, what a turnaround for Jakub Seman. So he is actually the one using the complications on the board in his favor, and he's taking over the game.
Wow, so he found a very, very nice practical tactic. But also, yeah, we have to praise Robert for looking to fight out in a game, and sometimes it happens that when you go for a fight you miss something and you also end up losing, but that's the only way how in the long term you can actually keep developing to be looking to win those games.
Yes, for sure. It's painful in the moment, but it gives you a lot of experience that is needed. We have a resignation, even though not queen f4 but queen g4 was played, but we have a win for Jakub Seman. Wow. And this boy is nicely looking around, and this boy has a really cool t-shirt as well. Cool kids play chess. Wow, what a turnaround. Of course, disappointment for now for Robert. But I think, yeah, unfortunately, those types of losses, they are part of growing as a player. Wow, that was crazy game, but yeah, congratulations. Jakub Seman is now on 5.5 points out of 7. Right behind the leaders, we have 3 players with 6 out of 7, and Jakub is going to be right there behind them with a bunch of other players, of course, but that is still a great position for him to be in.
Yeah, and the game that we saw sometime earlier between Valery Kazakowski and Piotr Nguyen has reached a very, very curious looking endgame kind of situation right now. And other than that, we have a lot of rook endgames in this round. So maybe we can take a look at board 7 still.
Yeah, and as Tom said, really, I'm also looking at the games and a lot of rook end games here. Um, a lot of also, majority of the games already finished. So let's take a look at this game still. Valery Kazakowski against Piotr Nguyen. Very funny looking endgame, as Tom said. With the bishop on g2 for black, you see the player's full focus because, of course, there is almost no time. Although according to this clock, actually Valery he still has a couple of minutes. Let's see, now it is white to move, so you see Valery Kazakowski is fully focused. And yeah, let's see in a moment boards to see what is the actual position.
Yeah, so so we have bishop on g2, very funny looking bishop on g2, but it's actually very useful there because now the h2 pawn, if it ever falls, then we're running away with it. And there was an interesting moment also just a moment ago here. There was so after f4, I was wondering what happens if we just take on g3. How do we stop the pawn? There is some way to stop it, I guess, but oh, yeah, h4. So this was what I was wondering, h2, and now we cannot go rook h7 because bishop h3 is gonna just cut it out immediately, so we would need to go something like rook e1, and in this kind of position, at least black very, very comfortably could escape to a draw. First of all, we could just take, then we can promote in the next move. Oh no, we cannot promote in the next move. We first need to take, I guess, on f4.
Oh wow.
And then we keep this h1 alive and it would be a draw. But apparently after rook g3 there is something else that is winning for white.
Why are you finding such moves, making it so complicated for us? So now we have to understand what is there. Maybe take on g5.
On g5, okay.
Take on g5 and run with your own pawn.
Okay, so that looks like a good idea indeed. Yeah, so we have another pawn running, and we didn't manage to take the h2 pawn, which is a big problem. Okay, so that's why he decided to first take gf, and now rook g7, king h5 is the position on the board, and white is thinking how to proceed. If to take on f5 or to take on f4.
But if you take on f5, f3 is running now.
But we have g4 checkmate.
Oh, this is how I would have blundered. This is nice, actually.
So the knight is cutting us off, rook is cutting us from here, and g4 checkmate just coming all of a sudden.
Oh, this is nice. This is really nice. Wow. So actually, what can black do after knight f5? g4 is coming, but if they take and maybe somehow bishop f3, yeah? Or he again goes h2, tempted to queen and g4. Something
yeah, bishop
was
f3
played.
is looking pretty nice.
Knight e2.
Oh wow, that is apparently another option. So looking for a fork, f3, we have knight f4 fork, winning the rook, and now this might be a tough move to make with type double. King h6 seems like a
Just
human
escape
way.
from checks. And can you take on...
no, can we take on g3,
Yeah.
and after knight f4 we have king h6 in this scenario. Yes, that's what he does.
That makes sense. And now white can force a draw with knight g3, king h6, knight f5, king h5, knight back to g3. King cannot escape this knight jumping around, but I think white still wants to win this game.
But it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be very, very hard to win with so powerful bishop, and now the rook is gonna be looking to attack the h2 pawn. We cannot get to h1 because knight from g3 is gonna be covering the h1 square, but rook from the second rank is gonna be attacking the h2 pawn any moment when we move the bishop. The rook will need to keep our king cut off, and there will be probably no way how to advance just with the pawn and the king because of this very, very strong control here.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
this game, yeah, it looked fun in this moment. I noticed this rook g3 ideas and the pawn running, but I guess now it will simplify, and white will try to find some tricks how to win this game. But objectively, it should be finishing with a draw.
Yeah, so what is happening in this game between Nikita Meshkovs and Agraval Vantika? Maybe we can take a look at that.
In board 11, then between Nikita Meshkos and Agrawal Vantika, yeah, Nikita has managed to make some progress. It's not coming easy. It's can just see that he's struggling with those moves, like just making anything work. He's managed to push his pawn a little bit forward, but it has come with a big cost, and the big cost being one pair of pawns is exchanged. Which of course is very helpful for the defending side. The less pawns are on the board, the closer you are to a draw.
And theoretically, it should be a draw for Vantika, and she still has now actually gotten a little bit of time. So we've seen her playing on 30 seconds, but now she has 1.5 minutes. It gives you some comfort. It is a little bit more time. Oh, we have this boy again. He's following us. He's following the broadcast. But I guess it simply means that he's really into chess. He's really into chess. Nikita looked at him a bit dangerously. But yeah, is that the current position or not yet?
This is the current position right now, yes. And yeah, of course it is a draw. There is no question that it is a draw. But Nikita is trying. So now he is ready to sacrifice a pawn already that you can take on h2. He's saying, but I want something. I want something here. But unfortunately, there's simply rook a3.
Just to push the king away, because if we take, curious if it's still a draw, but then rook h7 pushes the king from black to the 8th rank, because see, the white king is not allowing black king to go active, so king...
It's actually an easy draw, because we can just put rook here, and with a g pawn or b pawn, doesn't matter, all we need is rook, king on the back square and be defending from the checkmates, and that is just a draw automatically.
Yeah, but she just gave a check and king back, and now she wants to take, and I think that's even an easier draw because her pawn is defended and she just wants to take in a simpler way. Now if check, black can put the king in front of the pawn, so not even going passive, and maybe this is just gonna be a draw even now. How do we keep trying here?
Yeah, you can't manage to bring your king over because probably she's gonna check it again and just go back here, and we can't even try with an h-pawn anything. So yeah, now with the rook on h6, it does feel like there is no more tricks left. That's it. Yeah, Nikita realizes that. You can see that he's aware that this is over. No more tricks. And great defense for so many hours.
Actually, you can so clearly see that he just lost. Like, he still played very quickly some previous move, and now he is just giving hopes in his mind, just agreeing that there are no more chances probably here for a win. But he will try. He is a big fighter. He will still try to come up with something, but most likely, as Tom said, very nice, successful defense. Most likely successful for Vantika. So hard to play, so many hours in time travel. We see Nikita, so...
Yeah, that's the tricky part about openings. Like it was chosen here by Vantika that you are in a position that engine says it's kind of okay. But you're pawn down, and you don't have anything like very obvious for the pawn, and yeah, some people can just take and like test you, and then you are spending just loads and loads of hours in a defensive position where a draw is actually a win for you. And but she succeeded, so yeah, that is really yeah, impressive. And the draw is agreed in this one as well. We have lots of draws today. Very many draws happened.
This boy is so nicely curious about everything they're picking. That's really cute to see. Who knows, maybe in 15 years he's going to be one of the grandmasters. This is what you need. This is the kind of curiosity and passion to the game. So actually that's really nice. He's following, looking at those better players at the top boards, observing the players as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is of course something that if you have a chance, like you're a chess lover, and especially for the kids and so on, they have a chance to see strong players playing and see them in action, see what how they're behaving and everything. Like, you should just go for it. You should just take those opportunities and, uh, yeah. So that's that's great to see.
Yeah, and it's really nice that he's so brave. He's approaching, grandmasters, and there is a stage for the top players, so you actually have to climb the stage, and it can be a little bit intimidating. So it's nice to see that he's so confident to do it. And it's also was nice to see the solid defense. Not the best news for the best Latvian player here because I'm sure he wanted to win the game. He's somehow struggling to get the wins here. I guess there were a couple of draws in better positions for Nikita Meshkovs. But he's not managing to. It's so difficult, really, to push and break through the defense of the opponents and get the full point. So a bit disappointed, as you guys have seen, but very nice to see now. Positive and friendly chat. Now the game is over, and yeah, they were discussing some of the ideas that were possible in the game.
So most of the games are over. On the stage, there at the moment are two boards still going on. The between one of them is between Valery Kazakowski and Pyotr Ngoyan. That is gonna finish in a draw in a few moves already. So there are no. Yeah. So great defense also by Pyotr Ngoyan. He had a tough game against a very strong opponent with black pieces and. With the pawn sacrifice, he managed to keep the game complicated enough to manage to get a draw. And then there is a game between Chongsheng Zhang against Gleb Pidluzhny, still going on. And I don't remember what is the evaluation of the position that they have right now on the board, so don't want to go very wrong by saying.
So you don't want to check this game, yeah?
Yeah, if we check it, then we'll probably could figure it out. And so, yeah, we can switch to the board 9, and that can be the last also board we take a look at today.
So let's see the very last game. Yeah, it makes sense because we haven't taken a look at this one today. Zheng Chongsheng and Gleb Podluzhny, both very strong players. Much higher rated Chinese player, trying to win now also this position. You'll be updating the board, yeah?
Yeah, they played a lot of moves in the last 15 minutes, of course, because they are very low on time. And
this is board number 9, yeah. Board 9. So we see those players. Actually, they are playing under this nice poster on the stage, more or less in the middle.
Yeah, as we see how the game was progressing, very nice defense by Pidluzhny Gleb as well. I mean, he had to, as we know from the previous rounds, Zheng can be pushing very nice, like very dangerously, with finding a lot of resources, and here as well it was a simple rook end game, and he was asking lots of questions to his opponent, and then they reached this kind of position with a rook against the pawn, and so the position that we have right now on the board is supposedly just a draw. So great defense, but maybe there is some trick. As we know, everything can happen to the last moment, to the last trick. And yeah, right now in this moment, it was very important. So really impressive. King g2, the only move to make a draw, since h2 would be losing to the rook g6 check. And now if we go somewhere with a king f2 comes. And if we queen, there is rook h6 picking up our queen. And if we put a knight, the knight has no moves after king f3, and we would lose the knight anyways a moment later. So it was very important that in this moment king g2 actually got played, and
yeah, now the difference is that after the check, king I think f1 can be played, and there is no check in case the pawn is gonna queen. So now what can white try? King f3, simply h2 is coming, rook h6, defending the pawn, and after the check, black can simply go back. to f1.
Yeah, and after the check, exactly. King h1 we don't want to go because that is gonna be losing, as the next move will come checkmate. But we can just go king f1 and we are ready to promote with a check. The king is on the wrong square. If the king was on g, like he could get the position like this again, that would be all fine. But we can't get it, and yeah, great defense. Very great defense. It was a tough one with no time to really be confidently going for these kind of positions. It's never easy.
Would you be confident to make a draw here?
In this moment already, yes, I would be. But as the position was before, you'd probably go for it, but I don't think I would feel confident about it.
Okay, rook f6. Yes, as Thomas mentioned, Chang Zheng, he is trying, but I guess here simply king both to g1 and g2 should be a draw, or no?
Yeah, I don't know if there are any more tricks, any other tricks. The king g2 was the last crucial move, and then now I think black can be doing pretty much anything at this point already. So yeah, if you go king g1 or something, just none of the moves like king e2, or it doesn't do very much, because checks from the side, they don't achieve very much. There are no mate threats because we can just teleport the king somewhere else. It's very slow, and the pawn is very quick to queening actually, and so what could be some tricks? So king f3 as well. There is just h2, and again, like if we had this kind of position with the rook on the second rank, no, that also doesn't work anymore at all. Even with the rook on the second rank, there will be no ideas because queen could come out and block the mating ideas. So yeah, just no chances whatsoever to win it anymore.
Yeah, so here we'll have a draw in this game, and that means that those players will be on 5 out of 7, so quite behind the leaders, but it will be a very wide group of players with this score, so everything will come down to how will they perform in the last two rounds. Last two rounds in the open tournament are always the most important, so we will be back here tomorrow as well, of course, to cover them. Are we waiting for this game? I guess no, right?
No,
I guess they are repeating.
We will let them repeat in whatever way they want. Yeah, but yeah, here nothing will go wrong in this game. After such a great defense, I think it's already clear that he is confident at this point. He has enough time on the clock as well, so this one is going to be a draw.
Yes, absolutely. So let us sum up quickly what has happened today. We had a draw between two leaders on board one, Jakub Pajeken against Nicolas Teodorou, and they remain leaders, but the player who won, Ratan Vel, is joining them. So that was the only resultative game among those players who were right there behind. So he's the only one who managed to do it. They will have 6 out of 7, and Ratan Vel will be playing tomorrow, most likely with Teodorou. The colors match for them, and Teodorou is the highest rating, but we will see. We'll see it tomorrow. Then you see so many players are going to be right there behind them, trying to catch them. And we will be here back tomorrow to be following the action from 4:15, 4:30 Latvian time, and here with you. Round 8. Then on Sunday we have the last round, and they will decide everything in the tournament.
Yeah, exactly. Can't wait for tomorrow. Can't wait for the decisive clashes. And now we say goodbye to you. Thanks you for watching. Have a great Friday evening and see you tomorrow.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And yeah, absolutely. See you tomorrow.